Maybe that. There we go. Sorry. Little plug in. Good morning. You're muted. That's good because I said a lot of terrible things about people. No. That's good. I said a lot of horrible things about people this morning. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Good morning. How are you? Welcome. Welcome to Wake and Bake with Lolo. Oh, good, Neil. I'm glad you can. No, I can't. It's okay. I didn't say anything I wouldn't actually say on air. I was kidding. Hi, Gimme Coffee. How are you? Gimme Coffee. Iggy, good morning. Oh my gosh. Badger. Oh my gosh. What a great bunch of people this morning. That's so nice. It's so nice to see you all. It's so nice to be seen. It's really nice to be seen. It's really good to be seen. Yeah, here I am. This is my silly little show. It's called Wake and Bake with Lolo. I don't know what we're doing out here. So we're just kind of plodding along in the background while everybody else grabs that spotlight. We just don't grab spotlights. That's all we don't do. I stay violently under the radar. It's real ridiculous. Oh, yeah. We do our good work behind the scenes. Exactly. We do it on the down low. Anyway, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How are you? Here we are. We've got a lot of stuff I actually should pull up because I was actually a good girl, kind of, sort of. And I did try to put things in here that we would get. Yeah, hold on. What am I doing? Oh yeah, my channel. Where am I going? What am I doing? My channel. Ship. Be quiet, girl. Oh man, you look like poopy poop. You look like poop today. No, not you, me. Oh, let's see. Nomination of. Wait a minute, that's the wrong one. Shill baby shill. Is that? I am like so wrong on all of my fucking no. Wow, this is incredible. I am like so wrong on all. Stop it. I'm so incorrect on what's happening every day. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what happens when I. Okay, I'm not going to talk about it. Let's see here. That's that. There's a markup, transportation and infrastructure. Oh, there is a Boeing. Okay, so there's a Boeing CEO is testifying in front of Congress. Today is Liberation Day. Yeah, whatever the fuck that means. Yeah, exactly. The Times article about the police state looked good. I couldn't get through. Oh, yeah, I have that one. Hold on. I think I'm a little discombobulated this morning. That's okay. Let's see. Wait, I don't know why I don't have that in my fucking bookmarks, but okay. Let me see. The New York Times. Yeah, I like that Fisher Cat video on Discord. Don't mess with a Fisher Cat. Yeah, don't mess with a Fisher Cat. It's true. It's very true. All right, hold on. Let me find the article because I know which one you're talking about. Pull up the New York Times. New York Times. New York Times. It's the New York Times. Yeah. Hey, please like, share, and subscribe the broadcast. I don't know if I can express to people how difficult this is to do unless you have hope. Tuesday's results give Democrats a big psychological boost. Oh, and also some help in the goddamn Wisconsin Supreme Court. Okay, so there's a normal person on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. That's what that means to us. Let's see. I want to find that article though, because I know it's here. Na, 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 na. Come on down to Pound Town. Come on down. Come on down. Oh, my brain is addled this morning. Did you already do your fingertip push-ups and ice bath? I did, and it didn't help. I hate being late, but I'm late all the time just by a little. You're not late, Jane. You're just on time. I like that. Oh wait, today is Liberation Day. That's right. The times are about police state. Yes, that's the one I wanted to watch. Time is just whipping by so fast these days. It really is. Yeah, you're fine, Jane. My goodness. La la. Nobel laureate and an ex-leader of Costa Rica says the U.S. revoked his visa. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think that we just did you a favor, Mr. Nobel laureate. We just did you a fucking favor. Oh, Trump allied prosecutor looks to undermine Biden pardons. Of course, because it's a police state. Trump plans to unveil expansive global tariffs today. Really? Does he? Does he? Does he? I don't think so. Let's see. Where's that goddamn weird article? Val Kilmer. Sorry, Val. What happened? What happened? What happened to Val? I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at Val Kilmer dying. I'm not laughing at Val Kilmer. I mean, maybe I am. No, I'm not. I'm not. God, I'm stop. Don't listen to me. I'm not. I'm laughing at myself. Let's see. Israel is this I read yesterday. Israel is expanding the Gaza offensive because they're just fucking war criminals in Israel. The Israeli government is a bunch of war criminals, and they're ethnic cleansing Gaza to take it over. All right. So good job, all you people who thought she was not the answer for Palestine. Good job. Do you feel better now as you sip your lattes? Do you feel better? Do you feel better knowing what you didn't vote for or that you voted against? You happy about that now? Or does it not matter to you because you're sitting over here in the United States drinking your lattes? I wonder. Makes me wonder what people really care about, actually. Pneumonia? Oh, I didn't know that. I knew he'd been sick, but not sick. I didn't realize he'd been sick. That's too bad. Yeah. Yeah. Where is that damn oh, I'm sorry. I'm having a really hard time finding that article. Can you give me the does anyone have the title of it or anything so I can look for it? Let me Oh yeah, this is the one I shared. Okay. This is an opinion piece. Unmarked van, secret list, public denunciations. Our police state has arrived. All the bakeries closed because there's literally no flour left in Gaza. I don't know what to say. You know, like I just don't know what to say. I don't have any words anymore. Because every time I have words, people seem to think, "Oh, well, you're just full of hate or you're this or you're that." I don't know what to do. I'm just a fucking person. And I actually care about other people. And so maybe I feel that, but I'm sick of the judgment. I'm so fucking sick of the judgment. And all these other yahoos are out there doing shit that has nothing to do with what we talk about. They're just fucking egotistical maniacs. Okay, I'm going to stop because I'm going to get angry and I'm going to say things I regret. So I'm not going to do it. Good morning, Bees Love. It's the unmarked cars, a friend who grew up under an Argentine dictatorship said. He had watched the video of the Columbia graduate student Mahmoud Khalil's abduction. In the video, which Khalil's wife recorded, she asked for the names of the men in plain clothes who handcuffed her husband. "We don't give our name," one responds. "Can you please specify what agency is taking him?" she pleads. No response. We know now that Khalil was detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, an agency of the Department of Homeland Security. Those of us who have lived in countries terrorized by a secret police force can't shake a feeling of dreadful familiarity. I never realized until this moment how much fear I carried with me from my childhood in communist Romania. Another friend, the literary scholar Marianne Hirsch, told me arrests were arbitrary, and every time the doorbell rang, I started to shiver. It's the catastrophic interruption of daily life, as when a Tufts University graduate student, Rumeysa Öztürk, was grabbed on a suburban street by a half-dozen plainclothes agents, most of them masked. The security camera video of that arrest shows Öztürk walking, looking at her phone, perhaps to check the address where she was supposed to meet her friends for dinner that night, when an agent appears in front of her. She says something, asks something, struggling to control her voice, and within seconds, she is handcuffed and placed in an unmarked car. It's the forced mass transports of immigrants. These are not even deportations in the way we typically think of them. Rather than being sent to their country of origin, Venezuelans were sent to El Salvador, where they are being imprisoned indefinitely without due process. It's the sight of men being marched in formation, their heads shaved, hundreds of people yanked from their individual lives to be reduced to an undifferentiated mass. It's the sight, days later, of the Secretary of Homeland Security posing against the background of men in cages and threatening more people with the same punishment. It's the growing irrelevance of the law and the helplessness of judges and lawyers. A federal judge ordered flights carrying the Venezuelan men to be turned around and demanded information about the abductees. Another federal judge forbade the government to deport without notice Rasha Alewa, the Brown University Medical School professor who was detained on return from a trip to Lebanon. Another judge prohibited moving Rumeysa Öztürk from Massachusetts without notice. The executive branch apparently ignored these rulings. This is what they're doing. It's the chilling stories that come by word of mouth. ICE is checking documents on the subway. What? 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 ICE is outside public libraries that holds English as a second language classes. ICE agents handcuffed a U.S. citizen who tried to intervene in a detention in Harlem. ICE vehicles are parked outside Columbia. ICE is coming to your workplace, your street, your building. ICE agents are wearing brown uniforms that resemble those of UPS. Don't open the door for deliveries. Don't leave the house. The streets in New York neighborhoods with the highest immigrant populations have emptied out. It's the invisible hand of the authorities. The media outlet Zeteo reports that Homeland Security employees are revoking foreign student status in the database that's usually maintained by universities. Normally, once a person has entered the country on a valid academic visa, they have the right to stay as long as they remain in the program for which the visa was granted. This is what university administrators track. These changes have reportedly been made with no notification and in the absence of any transparent process. Of course, the Department of Homeland Security, when it was created in the wake of 9/11, was meant to function in opaque ways and with broad authority. It was designed to be a secret police force. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has bragged to reporters about revoking the legal status of upward of 300 people and promised there would be more. We're looking every day for these lunatics. It's the shifting goalposts. They are taking not only people who are in the United States without legal status, but also those who are here on a visitor's visa and then also legal permanent residents. They are targeting not only people who have criminal convictions, but also those whom they say they suspect of belonging to a gang, and also those who participated in or supported campus protests, and then also someone like Öztürk who merely wrote, with 3 other people, an opinion essay in a student newspaper. And then there was a German green card holder at Boston's Logan Airport who was allegedly stripped and deprived of sleep and his medications by Custom and Border Protection, actions that could fit the legal definition of torture. The agency has denied the allegations. And a Canadian with a job offer who was detained at the southern border and held for 12 days. And another German, a tourist, who was detained at the southern border and held for more than 6 weeks. And a Russian biomedical researcher at Harvard who was detained coming back from France and has been in the infamous detention facility in Louisiana for over a month. It's the way we dig down for the details of these stories to reassure ourselves that this won't happen to us or that there is some logic to these arrests. The German man had a misdemeanor charge a decade ago. The Canadian was possibly using a crossing not meant for people submitting work visa applications. The other German, a tattoo artist, was carrying her equipment and customs agents might have suspected that she was planning to work illegally. The Russian scientist was bringing in frog embryos that the Department of Homeland Security says she did not declare properly. When the range of factors that can get a person arrested stretches from political speech to a paperwork error, we are in territory described by the Russians saying, "Give us a person and we'll find the infraction." And as the historian Timothy Snyder has pointed out, if due process is routinely denied to non-citizens, it will be denied to citizens too, simply because it is often impossible for people to prove that they are citizens. This has happened before, when an unknown number of U.S. citizens were caught up in the deportations of hundreds of thousands of Mexican Americans in the late 1920s and 30s. It's the lists. More than anything else, in fact, it's the lists. A private company has launched an app called Ice Raid, billed as a protocol that delegates intelligence gathering tasks to citizens that would otherwise be undertaken by law enforcement agencies. The app promises rewards for capturing and uploading images of criminal illegal alien activity, and possibly even bigger rewards for self-reporting, for adding oneself to the ICE raid registry if one is an honest, hardworking, undocumented immigrant with no criminal history. Let me say that again. And possibly even bigger rewards for self-reporting for adding oneself to the ICE raid registry if one is, quote, an honest, hardworking, undocumented immigrant with no criminal history. The app, in other words, combines two time-tested secret police techniques, inducing others to add themselves to registries. Combines two. Incentivizing some people to denounce their neighbors and inducing others to add themselves to registries. Forgive me. It's the denunciations by concerned citizens. Before there was ICE raid, there were several groups compiling lists of people they consider anti-Semitic, especially university students and faculty. These organizations include Mothers Against College Antisemitism, a Facebook group with more than 60,000 members, Better US, a Zionist organization so extreme right that the Anti-Defamation League has denounced it, and several other groups that since the beginning of Donald Trump's second term have been reporting people to government authorities and cheering when they are detained, deported, or fired. When Rubio was asked if the State Department is using lists fed to it by these private groups, he said, "We're not going to talk about the process by which we're identifying it because obviously we're looking for more people." The state appears to have outsourced surveillance. A Columbia professor shared an Instagram story by the Chinese dissident artist Ai Weiwei that showed Elon Musk's X symbol rotating and morphing into a swastika. The professor did it on personal time from a personal residence to a personal account. An Instagram story lives for only 24 hours. Someone was watching. It was reported to the university. 3 months passed before the professor was cleared. Then the professor's name and picture, along with a new inventory of ostensible offenses, popped up on one of those lists of supposedly anti-Semitic faculty members. There was, of course, nothing anti-Semitic about the Instagram story or the rest of it. The professor, like so many of the people on these lists, is Jewish. Last Friday, mere minutes after Columbia announced that the name of its new interim president, Claire Shipman, I know Claire. I know that name. I think I've met her. An entity that calls itself Documenting Jew Hatred on Campus addressed Shipman on X. We have identified faculty members who, the group believes, should be purged. The self-appointed enforcers are vigilant. This, too, is a hallmark of a secret police state. I know, Claire. The citizens of such a state live with a feeling of being constantly watched. They live with a sense of random danger. Anyone, a passerby, the man behind you in line at the deli, the woman who lives down the hall, your building super, your own student, your child's teacher, can be a plainclothes agent or a self-appointed enforcer. People live in growing isolation and with the feeling of low-level dread, and these are the defining conditions of living in a secret police state. People lose the ability to plan for the future because they feel that they have no control over their lives, and they try to make themselves invisible. They move through the world without looking for fear of seeing too much. But while we are still capable of looking, we have to say what we see. The United States has become a secret police state. Trust me, I've seen it before. And this is M. Gesson, who has written extensively. She's Russian, and she has written extensively about Putin, and she's very wise, very incredible, and she's great. Oh, what? Hey, what happened? Why'd that do that? I'm so sorry. It took away the fucking article. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. Who carries their documents on the subway? This is just too frightening. I'm sorry. I don't know. This to me is like, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. This is really bad. Didn't Elmo enter on a student visa? Yeah. Yeah. That's bad. Yeah, Eric Adams case dismissed. Shocker. 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 I wonder what's happening at the Miami Detention Center where they were low on water and overcrowded. I know. I don't know what's happening with any of those things. I don't understand. Ugh. God. I really fucking hate this world. I can't even tell you how much I mean, I don't want to be so... I am actually not an angry person. I am not an angry person at all. I have a lot of feelings, so maybe it just gets me wrapped up. But I am not angry, and I just feel like I'm being pushed to this point of anger, and I don't know what to do with it. I mean, I know what to do with it, but I know. Well, and I don't feel like I break. I mean, I've been under a lot of pressure in my life. A lot of you have. And I will always find like the reason to get up and fight. But I also need to express my anger sometimes, and I don't want to feel bad because I do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sick of people making me feel bad about anything I feel. I'm done with it. Like, fuck you. If you don't like me, fucking get out of my life. So yeah, I'm just a little angry this morning. Maybe we should watch something. Anyway. Yeah, screw them. Screw all those people. Okay, what the hell's going on? All right, we've got... Oh, wait. Oh, no, that's today. Wait, what time is it? Is it not 7? Oh, it's not. I'm like, I thought it was after 7. All right, there's a Supreme Court whether states can cut Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood. There's that. Yeah. Thank you, Jane. I appreciate that. Who does that? Butterflies, we both know. We know them, unfortunately. Melanie Trump, immigrants to the U.S. on a genius visa to work as an escort. Yeah, exactly, Jim. Exactly. So done. All right, let's see. Come on, focus. Let's do one more thing. Let's see what else we had. I think I had all the wrong things on my stupid... Wait, so artificial intelligence. 1 p.m. he's unveiling the tariffs. Come on. What the hell? This is so dumb. All right. Let's... Mm, 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 mm. Mark Rutte holds a press conference. Oh, is that happening? I kind of want to see this. The head of NATO's holding a press conference. I wonder what that's all about. Hold on. Bye, neighbor. Here we go. Let me read this while we're. Oh, God, cookies. I'm so done with everybody. Fuck off. Fuck all your cookies. I don't fucking care. I fucking hate all of you. Inhumane conditions. This is El País publication. Inhumane conditions and death at Miami's Chrome Migrant Detention Center. This is from yesterday. Growing reports of overcrowding and mistreatment at Florida's largest immigration enforcement facility have sparked protests and are yet another example of the use of cruelty as a deterrent. Yeah, fuck them. I agree, butterflies. Well, I agree a lot. Let's see. A little bigger. All right. We're practically kidnapped. They treat us like dogs. This is hell on earth. Testimonies of the conditions endured by detained migrants find their way out of the Chrome Detention Center, located on the edge of Miami, where the city merges with the immense swamps of the Everglades. At Florida's largest migrant detention facility, originally a Cold War missile base and known for its poor conditions since it began operating as a temporary prison for immigrants, no cameras or personal cell phones are allowed. Legal representatives for detainees are the only outsiders allowed in, and official communications are limited. But in recent weeks, viral videos on social media, complaints from family members, lawyers, and activists, and even a couple of deaths at the center since late January have put the spotlight on Chrome. The situation is such that some detainees are requesting to be deported rather than spend more time there. It's yet another example of the deployment of cruelty as a deterrent strategy. Last weekend, the first protest took place on the access road to the facility, and dozens of people made clear their rejection of the inhumane conditions at Chrome, which have recently come to light. Outrage began to grow precisely with the news of the death of Maxim Chernyak, a 44-year-old Ukrainian who was in the country thanks to the humanitarian parole program. On February 20th. As that news broke, so did the death of Genry Ruiz Guillen, a 29-year-old Honduran who had died on January 23rd. Both died in the custody of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and had been detained at Chrome before being transferred to a hospital where they could not be saved. Details of each case are limited. In that of Ruiz Guillen, there isn't even an official cause of death, and family members and lawyers are trying to clarify the sequence of events that led to the loss of life to determine whether the deaths could have been prevented. Oh my God. Suspicions about possible irregularities in the protocols are not unfounded. Florida immigration lawyers have known about Chrome's notorious status for years, although the current situation is clearly different. Speaking to a local television station, immigration attorney Katie Blankenship said she would never be able to erase the images of women held at Chrome, which began admitting female detainees after more than 20 years after an investigation into sexual abuse by guards in 2000. Every time I walked in there was literally a group of women with no room to move, banging on the window, pleading, because they saw someone who wasn't an agent. They saw that I was a lawyer and said, please help us, please help us, please help us. Blankenship adds that her clients, whom she now meets in separate rooms as the meeting rooms have become collective cells for dozens of people, are sleeping in the bathrooms. Their faces are literally under the toilet. Other accounts from women collected by various media outlets describe how they were forced to spend hours, up to 16 in some cases, with tight chains around their wrists, chests, and hips on buses outside the facilities without water, food, or access to bathrooms. The accounts, which cover different dates, concur that the guards instructed them to urinate or defecate inside the buses, and that some women had no choice but to do so. But as things stand in 2025, the situation at Chrome only sounded alarm bells when a video went viral in late March. In it, Mexican citizen Osiris Azael Vasquez Martinez secretly records the room where he is being held with dozens of other migrants. The images show men sleeping on the floor, on waiting room chairs, or even on the table. Subjects speak in low voices to each other, and a bright white light replacing the sun's rays makes it impossible to tell the time of day. Then Vasquez Martinez hides under the table and speaks to the camera. We are in the Chrome Detention Center here in Miami, Florida. We are being held captive. We are in deportation proceedings, but we have been here for more than 20 days. There are people who have been unable to communicate for more than a month. Please help us, he says, tears beginning to well up in his eyes and his voice trembling with each word. According to the Miami Herald, which spoke with Vasquez Martinez, he was deported on March 14th, 3 days after posting the video on TikTok. After that video and 3 others posted by Vasquez Martinez were viewed millions of times, reports of the deplorable conditions at the Chrome began to dominate local news headlines in South Florida. In all of them, the voices of lawyers, family members, and detainees who have already been deported agree on several points: overcrowding, extreme shortages of food and liquids, lack of sufficient bathrooms, poor hygiene, increasing disease transmission, and poor and slow medical care for those who need it. For Octavio Perez Rodriguez, a Cuban who returned to the United States in 2022 after being deported in 2019, the situation has reached its limit. Titi, I'm dying. I'm in pain. You can't imagine what I'm going through, he says in a call to his wife, Midalis Lopez Corrales, as can be heard in a report on a local Miami television. He has been detained for over a month after being arrested while attending a supposedly routine appointment with immigration agents. Now, Perez Rodriguez has officially requested deportation as he can't stand Chrome any longer. According to several different reports, there appear to be numerous other detainees who would prefer to be expelled from the country rather than spend more time in the Florida Detention Center. The overcrowding that everyone is talking about, although they can't provide figures because they don't have them, has been accepted but greatly minimized by ICE. According to its official figures, there are 605 people detained at Chrome, although the capacity is 581. While ICE is looking for ways to increase its current detention capacity of 40,000 nationwide to 100,000, lawyers and activists estimate the real number is much higher. Some speak of double the capacity, others of up to 4,000. ICE has also stated in a generic message that it is strict medical, mental health, and hygiene standards, as well as standards for detention conditions, which include legal representation, abuse prevention, and access to interpreters. Well, that's that. Let me check. Maybe NATO G7 nations should give funds to ICC and give them more support.
We will also discuss how we can produce more on both sides of the Atlantic.
Well, this is NATO.
And make it easier to work together.
There's the NATO guys.
Exchange, innovate, and partner in ways that benefit us all. This is not only a topic for allies, but one that we will discuss with our Indo-Pacific partners,
it's the NATO guy.
with Ukraine, and with the EU High Representative Kaja Kallas, who will join us on both days. Our partners make an essential contribution to our shared security, sharing insights, experience, and expertise. When we meet in the NATO-Ukraine Council tomorrow evening, we will hear from Minister Andriy Sybiha.
Yeah, great, man.
He will update us on the current situation in Ukraine, as well as his perspectives on the process towards a just and lasting peace. All of this and more will contribute to the new chapter for NATO that we will start in The Hague in June. Our priorities are clear. We are building a stronger, fairer, and more lethal alliance. That's what we need to secure our future. And with that, I'm ready to take your questions.
All right, let's start over here, second row all the way on my left.
Secretary General Andrew Gray from Reuters. As you know, the European Union has set itself the goal of being able to defend itself by 2030. Is that a realistic and wise target to set?
Well, we are working together with the EU in a very close cooperation on the white paper, other issues. What we have to make sure of is that we can not only defend NATO territory today, but also in 5 years' time. And that means more spending, it means more defense production, that means for NATO that we will work on the standard setting, on the capabilities. It means for our European partners that they have to work on getting the internal market going, for example, when it comes to defense industrial production. So we have a clear division of labor here. And I think that is very positive.
All right, gentlemen in the fourth row in the center.
Thank you. Thomas Kutschka, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. Good afternoon.
Good to see you.
2 questions, please. The first one, the Washington Post published a story recently that refers to an internal guidance by the Pentagon that basically says everything needs to be prepared for a major war with China. And that also says that in the event that American troops are bound by such a war or the threat of such a war, Europe could not rely on troop reinforcements from the US. Which indications do you have for such scenarios? And what does it mean for the defense plans of the alliance? Question number 1. Question number 2, completely unrelated. Foreign ministers are meeting formally here, and they will meet informally in Antalya. At least that's the plan for now. With the arrest of the leading opposition politician, of hundreds of people protesting, among them, not among them, but additionally a Swedish journalist, do you think it's a good idea to be hosted by Turkey for such an informal meeting in May? Thank you.
I think on your second question that is an important meeting, that it is important that it is informal, and Turkey has offered to host it. When it comes to your first question, clearly what we need to do is to make sure that we have everything it takes to defend our Euro-Atlantic area.
At the White House?
And we also know that threats are manifold, also outside the Euro-Atlantic area. And that means that when it comes to the US, but also to other NATO allies, and for the alliance as a whole, that we have to be aware of what is happening in the
It's not already
That's
dead,
the reason why we
Jim.
have
I don't even understand why it's not already dead.
And that will also mean that
What does it
it
even
is
mean?
understandable
What does that
also
even
for the
mean?
US that over time
Who's investing in
they
that?
want to focus more and more also on that part of the world. And it is only logical for the Europeans to step up even more. There are no plans to withdraw or whatever. We know that the US is completely committed to NATO. But I think it is in all our interest
I don't think
that we
we
are
are.
able to keep this whole planet
I think it's great that you say that,
for
but
NATO to focus, of course, very much on our
I think
Euro-Atlantic
even you know
area.
that's
But
not true,
as I
sir.
said, together with the US at 32, to be very much aware that the threats are not only limited to the Russians. We see the Chinese building up, we see what is happening in Iran, we see what is happening in North Korea, and that's why Japan, Korea, Australia and New Zealand will join us.
All right, blonde woman with the red glasses in the center.
Beautiful glasses.
It's a good description. Thank you, Alison. Irina Sommer, news agency Interfax, Ukraine. Next week here in NATO HQ, the meeting of the coalition of willingness will take place. So my question is for you, Secretary General, what kind of role do you see for NATO playing in this coalition? Is it only to provide the facilities for meeting, or it can be something more? Thank you.
Well, I've myself been participating in some of these meetings in London and twice in Paris. Because I'm traveling next week, the Deputy Secretary General will participate in a meeting here. And we are there to advise, but also to hint at the implications of certain plans and what that means for the defense of NATO territory. So that is important. So we are there in an advisory role and also very much explaining the implications of decisions will they be taken.
All right, and then just in front of Irina, the gentleman in the blue suit.
Good
just saw
afternoon.
that.
I want to ask about joint military exercises up at 2022.
This is such a crazy country.
Will take place in Belarus.
This is so much worse than I
Our
thought it would be.
sources in Belarusian army say that for
We're
this
gonna have some work to
exercises,
do.
system Oreshnik and tactical nuclear weapons will be sent to Belarus from Russia, and they say that nuclear weapons are not yet in Belarus. Do you see nuclear weapon in Belarus, and or they are not still
Why does
there?
Belarus need a nuclear weapon?
Is the risk that the Russian army will stay in Belarus after the exercises like it was in winter 2022?
I have no information to share with you on that. We know that these type of exercises take place regularly, but you are asking some more specific questions concerning those exercises, and I have no new information to share at this moment.
All right. Let's see. The gentleman in the brown jacket here.
This is Mohammed with Al-Ittihad, United Arab Emirates. With the fresh Houthi attacks in the Red Sea and concerns with the re-emergence of ISIS in the region, how does NATO assess these emerging threats, and how does NATO work with its southern partners, to, including the UAE, to face such threats? Thank you.
Now, of course, we work together in the anti-Daesh coalition, which was hosted here the last time, I think it was in December last year. Then, of course, as NATO, we are active in Iraq, helping Iraq to build up its own armed forces and also their own Justice Department and the security forces in Iraq.
Post-truth, post-rule of law.
And we have a close cooperation with many of
it.
our partners in the southern neighborhood. We had a very successful meeting of the
upside-down
North
world.
Atlantic Council with 7 ambassadors from Algeria and Egypt and other countries and Mauritania. And others only, I think it was 2 or 3
I'll
weeks
tell you about
ago.
it.
So we follow that closely. Obviously, it's outside NATO territory, but of course there is a clear interest.
All right. Gentleman here in the sweater.
Secretary General, the President, you've been talking about Putin and about Russia. Western Balkans are again in focus. I'm Kenan Ćosić from Oslobođenje, Sarajevo. The President of Republika Srpska, Milorad Dodik, recently, a few days ago, met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Given that an arrest warrant has been issued for Dodik in Bosnia and Herzegovina with an international warrant pending Interpol's decision, how does NATO view this meeting in the context of regional stability? And second question,
I know, right?
Additionally,
international
how do you
journalists are so
Dodik's
much better
position that police of Republika Srpska would prevent his arrest
in the White House.
in Bosnia and Herzegovina?
Well, clearly it's up in the first place to the Bosnian Herzegovina presidency, the 3-member presidency, to take charge of the country. As I explained to them again when I visited now 3 weeks ago, I know some of them are somewhat irritated with the role of the High Representative, Mr. Schmid, and of course other aspects of the Dayton Agreement. But in the end, if they take control of the country, the 3 of them, then they really rule the country. And that is my urge. For NATO, I've made very clear we cannot accept a security vacuum in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We don't want any destabilization there. And of course, when it comes to Dodik, the president of Republika Srpska, and all the court orders and everything happening there, we expect him to basically accept when the independent judiciary is ruling, that he accepts that and that he then behaves accordingly.
All right. Gentleman in the 4th
Imagine
row.
that. Imagining following the rule of law.
Gabriel Dominguez from the Japan Times newspaper in Tokyo. There'll be a meeting between the North Atlantic Council and the Indo-Pacific 4 countries tomorrow. Could you tell us what topics will be on the agenda and what new ways are being considered to deepen cooperation between NATO and these countries?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I'm really looking, and also to my bilateral meeting with the Japanese foreign minister. And this is important because we cannot look at the at NATO territory in isolation. We know that all these
NATO's
theaters,
stepping up.
the Indo-Pacific,
oh boy,
the Euro-Atlantic, what is happening in the Middle East is
I don't think Dimple would get a chance to ask
Look at what is happening in Ukraine. with North Korea, China,
the
and
man with the
Iran
beanie?
getting more and more
The
involved.
idiot with the blank look on
And
his
of course,
face with the
all,
beanie?
the fact
Yeah,
that China is
you.
rapidly building up its own armed
There's
forces,
not even
having
an OANN.
towards 1,000 nuclear warheads by
Or an
2030. So
ONAN.
what we will concentrate tomorrow on, I think,
No OANN at the OTAN.
no, I expect even, is that we will deepen the cooperation. We will make it more and more and more practical. That means working together on issues like defense, industrial cooperation, exchanging experiences and views.
Wait, we got
etc.
stuff
We
to
are
do.
learning a
I'm
lot
sorry,
now from this terrible war in Ukraine.
Mr. Whatever your name is, Mr. Secretary General. We have to drinking your own Kool-Aid. Do. Okay. This is what Oomph was talking about. The investment accelerator. Do. Better than drinking his own urine. I see your pun. Okay, here we go. By the authority vested in me, the president by the Constitution. Okay, the United States is the most powerful, blah, blah, blah. Burdensome American regulatory processes. Okay, whatever. Regulations hamper investment, permitting and site selection, and numerous overlapping federal, state, and local. Well, okay. It is in the interest of the American people that the federal government dramatically expand its assistance to companies. It's imperative. It's imperative. Just a question. Thought your financial oriented mind might parse better than mine. I haven't even read it.
Whether or not a right has been created.
Here we go. But we're going to come back to that.
I think if Congress wants to be
I actually
clear,
don't have an
right is the
opinion
best
on it
word,
yet,
but we would take
although
its
I will
functional
read it,
equivalent.
and then
So
I'll
for
form an
example,
opinion.
Entitlement or privilege, other words that are functionally
Yeah.
equivalent to right, or of course the
This
traditional no
is
person shall, like the Fifth
about
Amendment. But this court
ending
made
whether
clear
a
in
state
Tleskey
can
that this-
cut Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood. That's what this is. What just happened? What happened? What? Hi. What just happened? Oh, well, welcome to this morning. Yeah, no, I'll take a look at it and then I'll yes, I know,
create new
Paulina.
language. For example, a beneficiary has a right to designate her provider. It could have taken the qualifications of the provider away from the state, the regulator, and instead made it a federal issue. Or it could have even done something like Congress did in 1396 small a, A84B, which if you move all the way down the list to near the end, it took the regulated entity, the state, it used a rights creating shall, and it put them together in the provision. But none of those indicators of a clear statement is present in this provision.
You're not quite calling it a magic word, but you're coming very close. And an example was raised in one of the briefs that says the IRS must provide that any individual may obtain a refund of overpaid taxes. It seems hard to believe that that sentence on its face does not create a right for an individual to have a refund of overpaid taxes.
Justice Sotomayor, let me address the magic words premise and then the IRS hypothetical. With respect to the premise, I'm not going to fight the court if you say that these are magic words, because that's really what.
No, you would like us to, but assume that I don't want to.
Yeah, that's a clear statement rule. That's what states need. But in the IRS hypothetical, there's a number of problems with that. First, as we point out on page 9 of our reply, it could be clearer. But more important, the IRS provision is not a spending clause provision. It's not this conversation between a state and the Secretary of Health and Human Services about what must be done.
It seems a little bit odd to think that a problem that motivated Congress to pass this provision was that states were limiting the choices people had. Some states were saying only state facilities would provide the benefit. Other states were identifying a more limited subset of providers. It seems hard to understand that states didn't understand that they had to give individuals the right to choose a provider.
Justice Sotomayor, certainly a state would understand it has to provide a benefit, but absent clear rights-creating language, it wouldn't know that it had to honor a right. And I can make that same statement about what's important to people or what's significant about dozens of other provisions in 1396A. If you're talking about equal protection or the right to services, how about being reinstated on the Medicaid program after you've been in prison? There are countless things in that statute which people would consider important and vital, fundamental. None of those words actually appear in the any qualified provider provision.
In your brief, you had 8 provisions of the Act that were part of this same list of rights, and you said, if we recognize a private cause of action here, these 8 are open to dispute. I looked at the 8 very carefully, and there hasn't been much of a dispute among the circuits.
There's background on this case in the link.
You mentioned one of them, because it's hard to see how a state can't understand it. There hasn't even been a challenge to it about providing Medicaid to juveniles in prison. And there's been no dispute over that because no one doubts that the state knows what it has to do, and it doesn't. The others, again, none of them have disputes. Some uniformly, the courts have said don't create private rights, and others they have said they do. Where they say they do, to me, it's a simple issue. You have to provide a fair hearing before the state agency of any individual who claims coverage. Most states have a hearing of some sort. But
there is an AI hearing.
That makes
there's a Boeing hearing.
Important here.
It's the difference between a benefit and a right, and whether this court is going to hold the line it stated in Tlevsky that this is going to be atypical when Congress creates a right without using the so-called magic words.
Well, could we talk about that, Mr. Bursch, the difference between a benefit and a right? I mean, I assume from your answer to Justice Sotomayor,
I might go to that after
you
this.
agree that the state has an obligation here. Is that correct?
To provide benefits on the plan, but significantly,
the state has an obligation to provide this particular thing, right, which is the state has an obligation to ensure that a person, I don't even know how to say this without saying right, has a right
I think
to
he
choose
has
their
by
doctor.
letting people check
That's what this
IDs on the
provision
subway.
It's impossible
Butterflies.
to even say the thing
Eric
without
let
using the
all
word
ICE
right.
run roughshod over his city.
To choose their doctor? The state has to ensure that individuals have a benefit to choose their doctor.
That's fucking scary.
The state has to ensure
checking
that
your
individuals
papers.
have a right
That's
to choose
scary.
their doctor. That's what this provision is.
That's scary.
Well, that language that you're focused
I
on
think that's
may
what the deal
obtain
was. I'm
is
sure
not
there's
clear
other
rights
things
creating
too,
language for
Butterflies.
4
You're
reasons.
absolutely right.
I don't want 4 reasons. I want you to answer my question. The obligation is to ensure that individuals can choose their doctor. And when we speak of that, the obligation is to, there's a correlative right. There's an obligation, there's a right. And the right
I'm in
is
shock.
the right
Like,
to
I
choose your
don't.
doctor.
That should be
Justice
like.
Kagan, I won't go through my list. There's many reasons why that analysis is wrong. But simply because we understand
I
colloquially
mean, the minute that girl
something
got
might
taken
be a
off the
right
street,
doesn't mean that Congress has put a state
freaked me the
on clear
fuck out.
notice that it
This
could be
only
sued
adds
in
to
federal
it.
court under 1983 and subjected to liability and attorney fee shifting if it doesn't follow that provision, particularly in a substantial compliance regime.
Well, here's what the state knows. The state knows it has an obligation. The state knows that that obligation runs to individuals and that individuals are specifically discussed in the statute. And the state knows the content of that obligation, which is that every individual has a right to choose their doctor. So what doesn't the state know that's important here?
Imagine if live streamers were more organized, right? Like, if they focused on issues that actually changed public opinion.
That suggests that
Can you
there's
imagine?
some kind of enforcement.
Can you imagine if
makes
live
clear that there's a
streamers
difference
really
between a
understood
duty
the role
to
that they
provide
can
a
have
benefit
in
and a
helping
right that
people
subjects you to
get
1983
good
liability? We would
information
expect a provision like this to use
and
individual
bring
because, of
light
course,
to
a
situations
doctor
like
treats an
Chrome,
individual, but the word individual can't
like
be rights creating. It appears
IDs
more than
on the
400
subway,
times just in 1396A. That's
like to
hardly
rise the
atypical.
anger level and the kind
one
of
of the
resistance to it. I don't know. I just
provided
feel
by
like
the
it would be
Act is
so
that you may
powerful.
choose, your own doctor. If the person thinks that's not being provided, what remedies do they have?
They have a very specific remedy if they are denied benefits. There's an administrative appeal process that they can go through. But there is a separate remedy for providers who are disqualified. They also have an administrative appeal that could go through the state court system, and that could come to this
But why
court
are
if
you going to stop
necessary.
me from
And it
seeing the
makes
doctor
sense
that I
Congress
want
would
and I
create
can
the
afford?
appeal right for the
Why would the
disqualification
government
in the
stop me
provider,
from doing
not the
that?
I'm
beneficiary,
sorry.
Because
I'm sorry.
And if I have a doctor at the
Medicaid
plant,
recipient can only sue
I'm just going to smoke a lot of weed
services
today.
that were actually rendered.
yes,
If a doctor can't render them,
what I'm gonna
then
do.
they can't sue under that.
that's correct.
Maybe go out.
And the
protest
requirement
something.
of an administrative review process is not actually required by the Act. It is something that a state can choose to give, and they can
That's a very
choose
good
its
point.
limits. Here, they can only challenge.
They
providers
could,
can only
Muskie, they
challenge a certain
could.
Subset of
I could. I should do it.
disqualifications via South
I should lead by
Carolina's
example.
administrative review process. They can only challenge a disqualification because of a criminal conviction or abuse. So the providers here did go through the administrative process, and they were told they can't sue for this here.
Justice Sotomayor, that is what they put in their brief. That is absolutely not what that regulation says. 126.404 says that those particular things that you mentioned, like a criminal conviction or recouping
So
payments,
why were they denied here?
well, can I
And
finish?
toothbrushes.
They're not. But go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, those things that you mentioned, that gives them advance review before consequences take
Yeah,
place. But
exactly.
the regulations make
They'd be-
absolutely clear that they could raise anything that they want.
Yeah, I want to get a press jacket. Although I yell too much. You can't be a press member and yell. That's not the way it works.
Court, they recruited a beneficiary. They filed their 1983
So
suit.
I'd have to
The
behave
state
myself.
responded to that with a brief in opposition to preliminary injunction motion and said, hey, your remedy, which you agreed in your contract was your exclusive remedy, is to go through the administrative appeal that we
But I
offer.
find it hard to
Mr.
keep my
Lynch, can I
mouth
just
shut.
ask you, to what
So,
extent is the
probably not-
administrative
probably not
appeal
right
scheme
for me
relevant
to wear a press
to
jacket.
the first step of this inquiry? What I'm a little worried about is
Collect-
that
yeah,
the
they'd
argument
collect
seems to
reward
be
money.
conflating what had traditionally been understood and what we reaffirmed in Tlefsky as
there's so
two
much-
different
there's so much
steps
evil.
of
There's so much
the
hate in the
analysis
world.
1983. And the first
Really
relates
crazy.
to what extent is this provision unambiguously rights creating? And then the second step asks whether Congress has created some sort of alternative remedy or what is the
Smoke
enforcement
gets in your
scheme such
eyes.
that we might believe that 1983 is not available. So can you just help me to understand whether you're now suggesting that we evaluate whether this is rights creating, as we talked about, in the first step, relative to an understanding of what Congress has done with respect to enforcement?
To be clear, Justice Jackson, we are not making a step 2C
To go
clamorous
buy
argument.
beer.
Never have.
Or
not
kratom
making it
or
here.
any of
And
those
as
other
this court
things
made
they
clear in
ingest.
Gonzaga, that the remedies available can
And you know, there's a
buttress
few
the
on the
interpretation of whether
supposed
there is
other
clear rights
side
creating language
that
in
could
step 1.
also
And that's what you said in
maybe
the Souter decision
take
in
their
footnote 11 as well. And so
gaze
we're-
off
we're
their own
using the
navel
provider's
and
remedy
look up.
and the lack of any beneficiary remedy to be able to challenge
And
the
maybe
provider's
use those
disqualification.
big
I mean,
audiences to bring attention to real
There isn't a
issues.
whole lot of indication that
You know.
lower courts are confused about this. I looked very carefully at Judge Wilkinson's opinion. He lays out very clearly how this works and what we've said repeatedly.
Please like, share, and subscribe the
And I guess
broadcast.
my
Thank
concern
you.
is that the
To our
kinds of
11
things, and I
viewers.
appreciate you had a long list of reasons why you think this isn't rights creating, but one of them had to do with the nature of this, the enforcement mechanism, and I just see that as a step 2 concern, and I'm worried about us getting people confused if we start putting those considerations into the first analysis.
Well, I think the analysis is distinct. If you're making a step 2 analysis, the argument is that the remedies are so comprehensive that it bars the ability to go to federal court. In step 1, just like in Gonzaga, just like in Souter, the court is entitled to consider remedies like the fact that the disqualified provider has an administrative appeal to determine whether there is a right to go to court. And I would note that
But
one of
that's
the
not
reasons
going to
it's
help the
significant
patient
Congress
who
gave that
wants to go to
administrative
their
appeal
particular
to the
doctor.
disqualified provider and
That's
not
not
to
a
the
remedy.
beneficiary is because the provider is the one who has all the information. Under respondents' theory, if a provider commits malpractice and they're disqualified for that reason, there's still a beneficiary
we're not
right
talking
to go
about
to federal
that.
court and bring a 1983 action.
We're not
And that
talking
makes no
about
sense,
an
because what does a beneficiary
ineligible.
know
We're talking
about a
about Planned
provider's
Parenthood
medical
and that you want to
malpractice
cut them off
involving
just
other
because they're
providers?
Planned
Can I just
Parenthood.
turn your attention back
This
to
is
what I
bullshit.
understand to be the classic kind of step 1 inquiry here?
Yes.
And get us back to Justice
This guy should be embarrassed. Like, why aren't these people embarrassed for representing this shit?
To do this. And I note
At what point
that,
do you say, I can't represent this shit?
That it would be
At what point do you say that?
The word right was in the statute. Sorry,
What the fuck?
In this particular statute.
When does acting
1983
end?
Itself talks about rights, privileges, and immunities. So even if we were to have a magic words
No,
test,
she
it seems to me to
wasn't.
be too
Okay,
narrow
she
to
wasn't.
just
It was
say
a
that Congress has to say
April
rights,
Fool's
because
joke
we have
I
in the
read in the troll
1983
chat yesterday.
Concept, in the
She
actual
thought
text
she
of
was
the
being
statute,
funny.
Rights, privileges, and immunities secured by
A woman who's
the
gone after
Constitution and
people and their
laws.
children.
So
She
with
can
an
go fuck herself. I hope
understanding
she
of
does
what
get evicted.
1983 was about, can
Because she
you
should,
speak
because
to
she's an
why
evil
an
human.
obligation
Just like the rest of them.
this nature that runs to
Fucking
an
useless
individual,
bitches.
in the
Useless
way that Justice,
hags.
Kagan described,
The whole fucking lot of
doesn't get
them
us
on
sort
both
of in
sides.
the realm of rights, privileges, and obligations secured by the law.
Yeah, two thoughts on that, Justice Jackson.
Ridiculous.
First, we're
I
not
hope
limiting this
karma
to
is a
right.
real
As I mentioned
bitch to some of
earlier,
these people.
entitlement
You
privilege,
understand that?
I would even spot
I
you
mean, a
immunity
real
because that's in
bitch.
Section 1983. I think any of those have the same rights-creating pedigree. But it is a high bar. An obligation is not enough. Telling a state that it has an obligation to do something or that it must provide something isn't the same as saying you have the ability to sue them in federal court and have 1983 fee-shifting
happy little
opportunities.
trees.
Well, it's not
Liability
any
That's
old
what I'm doing,
obligation. I mean,
feeding
you're
happy little
absolutely right, of
trees.
course, that not any old obligation would be enough here. It's an obligation that runs to the individual beneficiary and that concerns an individual beneficiary's entitlement to choose something. And once you're at that, you're
I'm on a
at
chud rampage. If a chud
right.
comes in my
And, you know, if the
my
word- if
path,
the language
I will go out
in
of my
the
way to
statute
tell them
said right,
exactly
as it
what
did in
everybody thinks
Gillespie,
about them.
you would still say, oh, well, the state doesn't know that that right is enforceable. What this language does is the same thing that the rights language does. It says you have an entitlement. It's your
Ooh,
option
Tamara
to choose
Lick.
a doctor.
Ooh.
Now, you know, we've
Is she going to
never
get the same
said,
soft
oh, and the
treatment that
statute has to
Pat
say,
King
and
got?
this can be enforced in court.
May I respond, Mr.
Yes,
Chief?
sure.
Justice Kagan, what you said in Tlevsky is that you need rights-creating language with an unmistakable focus on the benefited class. So the fact that you identify individuals and that they're
This is
there's
an
a benefit there-
unmistakable focus on the benefited class.
But
The
there's-
benefited class is Medicaid beneficiaries who have the right to go see
Yeah,
the
she's a
doctor
cow.
of their choice. That's what
She's a
this
cow.
provision
There's a lot of
is.
bad
Justice
things
Kagan,
that,
it's
that
missing
will
the connective
probably.
tissue to the rights-creating language. You need clear rights-creating language that the
She
beneficiaries
treated
are
people
subject
horribly.
to, and that is directed
She went
to the
after people's
regulated entity here,
children.
a state,
She went after
and
them.
all of
She's
that
a fucking
connective tissue
cunt.
is missing because there are
I wish
no
all the
clearly
bad things.
rights-creating words in this
I don't
statute.
have
If you would
any
lower the
problem
bar,
doing so.
those provisions that we mentioned in our brief are just the start. That's already 10% of Section 1396A.
You reap what you
atypical
sow.
high
That's
bar
in the
that you
Bible, too.
articulated in Tlevsky would be abandoned.
That's what
And
I
courts
say.
will continue discovering rights in all kinds of statutes.
Thank you, counsel. Justice Thomas, Justice Alito. Anything further? Justice Gorsuch?
On the administrative review process, your
Yes.
friends on the other side say it would be futile.
And don't get me
because it's
started
controlled by the state.
on Tommy Temper yesterday.
The state gives a full de novo
Going
review
after
to
gay
this
people. I
qualification
clipped it.
decision. That's
I was
clear
so
on the
angry
website.
I
It's
clipped
clear in
it
the
and I put it
administrative
on
rules that govern
fucking
that
Twitter.
proceeding.
Yeah, but
They have
they also
counsel.
report to the governor, right?
They do, but let's say
He
you get a
told
bad
his
decision there,
son
you've got an appeal
that
right
he
to the
should
state courts,
grab
you've got an appeal right
the
to this court.
genitals
So
of
it's a
someone he's
remedy
dating
that is
to
fulsome
make
and
sure
allows them
that
to
they're a
make any
woman.
argument they want.
You emphasize Gonzaga and Tlevsky, but we have other cases too. Wilder, Wright, Blessing.
Yeah, Jane, it was
Thoughts
dismissed.
about our jurisprudence in this area.
I do. Obviously, Gonzaga.
I'm sure they'll
and
find a way.
Armstrong
No,
have
they
cast
told
a
them
lot
they
of
could.
shade
It's
on
with
decisions like
it's
Wilder,
with
Wright, and
prejudice
Blessing, and I noted that
or
in
without
the
prejudice
Tlevsky
or something.
decision,
The
this court
government
did
can
not
bring the
use
case
any
again,
of those
Jane.
cases to reach its conclusion in that case. But the problem is that the lower courts are still in a state of confusion about what the status of those cases are. So, for example, in Tlevsky, I believe Mr. Chief Justice asked a question to counsel or observed, haven't we put a stake in Wilder? Well, outside the walls of this
Good.
court
Don't
were
do
lower
it,
courts have
Muskie.
not gotten that message
I only
yet.
do when I
Otherwise,
need to be just
Judge
get some
Wilder in
anger
his
out.
concurrence would not have said, well, we're still bound
And then
by
I turned it
Wilder
off.
and Wright and Blessing until this court says that
It's
those
been
are
good for the
actually
moments
dead
when I'm
cases
really,
that we
really
should no longer
angry.
follow. The problem with a case like Wilder is that the standard it applies is
Oh, they
so
cannot
low.
bring the case
Wilder
again.
says the
Forgive
inquiry
me. I
turns
thought
on
that
whether
they
the provision
could.
was intended to benefit the putative plaintiff. Well,
I thought that's
kind of
the way
sounds like the
he.
test that Justice Kagan is
Okay.
propounding this morning, where you don't need
Okay.
rights
Sorry
creating
about
language,
that.
but
I
if
thought
that's
it was.
the case,
I
there
thought
is
it
no
was
high
they
bar, there is no
could. They
atypical
could
case,
bring it
then
again.
the federal spending
And that
clause
was the
statutes
hold
are
over his head.
replete with
But
private
I'm wrong.
rights that can
Okay.
be enforced in federal
Thank
court.
you. Thank you.
Justice Kagan?
I think you gave me the option already.
User real Lolo has been suspended. Was I suspended?
Justice Kavanaugh.
Thanks. We're here
Wait, was I
obviously because of the
suspended?
confusion in the lower courts, which has
From
been
what?
we're on kind of a 45
User
year
real Lolo has been
odyssey.
suspended.
And
Which one?
it's
Where?
not the fault of any
Where's
one
that?
judge, but collectively this court has failed to give guidance, obviously, that lower courts can follow, that states, providers, and beneficiaries can follow. So one of my goals coming out of this will be to provide that clarity. Your word right or its functional equivalent, that or its functional equivalent strikes me, as some of the questions have revealed, potentially lacking the clarity that I
Oh
hope
yes,
we can
yes.
provide
I'm so
one way or
sorry.
the other
Yeah, on Twitter,
forward.
my
So
old one
don't
is
you think
gone.
it would be
Yeah, I was
better
suspended on the old
to
one.
actually tell us
I'm Lolo
words,
132511797.
our rights creating, rather than having something like or its functional equivalent, which could be another
That's weird,
decade
Teresa, isn't
of
it?
litigation.
Yeah, that's certainly possible because you'd have to
Yeah,
keep
that does
to a
work
pretty
for us,
small
Jane. You're
class.
absolutely right.
I wouldn't be able to really do any
That's
better
a
than
that's
Justice
a better
Alito's
outcome than I
partial
thought it
concurrence
was.
in
Actually, I'll
Tlefsky,
take it.
where he
I'll take
describes
good
it as
outcomes when they
explicit rights-creating
happen.
language. And the list I would give you is rights, entitlement, privilege, and
Be
immunities.
happily
When
wrong.
you're using the
That's
word,
it.
you could define it as that universe. I don't think that's a magic word, but if it is, then it's a clear instruction to
I'm
Congress.
not
and we all know.
allergic to magic words, because magic words, if
I
they
like
represent
beer.
the principle,
Wait,
will
I
provide
didn't
the
upload that
clarity
sound
that
yet.
will
I
avoid the
actually clipped that
litigation
sound.
is a huge
God damn
waste
it.
of resources for states, courts, providers, beneficiaries, and Congress. So
Right, exactly. And so when Justice Kagan was bringing up the may obtain phrase, if I could just quickly talk about
I'll give you a visual.
May obviously has its own ambiguity. It's not even clearly mandatory, much less having a rights
Oh, you
creating
know what? I
pedigree.
know. Hold on.
When you pair it with the word obtain, may obtain, it's even less rights creating because it's not giving anything directly to anyone in explicit terms. It's odd that that alleged rights scope is defined by the state, which is the gatekeeper, to determine who is a qualified provider. And then, of course, all of this is subject to the substantial compliance provision. And so long as this is in the plan, the state can administer it any way it wants. And if the secretary doesn't complain, if they don't honor any of the provisions, any one of the provisions, then there's no penalty for that. So you can see how quickly, once you move away from those core words like right, entitlement, privilege, immunity, that it's easy to cascade and find rights in any provision that mentions individuals and a benefit. Like that's the problem I think you're trying to solve. And if this court doesn't toe the line, if it doesn't have the high bar, the atypical, not 10% of 1396A, you're going to be seeing these cases for the next decade easy. I mean, every term we could have.
In your response, I think you've said this, but I just want to get it nailed down. Your response to the idea that those words, those terms you've given us, create an artificial divide between provisions.
Well, it's not artificial, because if we step back and think about this, this is a state entering into a contract, and it knows that it has to provide benefits. We've talked about that. The question is whether it's on notice that there is a private right that can be enforced in a Section 1983 action with attorney fee shifting, where all of a sudden money is flowing into attorneys' pockets instead of into the beneficiaries who are supposed to be getting the benefits of the congressional appropriation. So if you don't limit it to those few words, then all of a sudden you've got the floodgates are open. And I know their contention is, well, there is no real floodgates. Well, we've cited circuit case after circuit case about all kinds of different provisions. In the context of the any qualified provider provision alone, we're talking about 9,000 providers who have been disqualified across the country, any one of whom, if you rule in favor of respondents, can recruit a beneficiary and go to federal court and then
find that
line their
audio
pockets
clip.
with the
I'm going to
attorney's
find
fees.
it.
So I think your instinct to try to keep this
They just banned
as clearly
flavored
defined and as
vapes.
narrowly defined as possible is consistent with putting
That's
the
probably a
state
good
on
idea.
notice, which is the whole purpose of this spending clause exercise.
And the last point on the clarity, you you think we need to say something specific.
Does doggy
and
cutting
explicit
IRS
about
save
Wilder
Americans
and
400 million while
Blessing?
costing us 700 billion?
think
Are
he
those?
did
I don't
after
know.
Tulowski, but when this case was GVR'd and Judge Richardson says, what are we
I
supposed
don't
to do as
know.
lower court judges when the court doesn't say explicitly, don't follow Wilder or Blessing or Wright anymore? I think you do need to be more clear. If you really want to put a stake in those cases, you're going to have to do it in writing, just like you did with Lemon.
Thank you.
Justice Barrett?
I'm going to ask you a little bit about Justice Jackson's question about how the availability of alternative remedies in a C-clamor sense might bear on step one.
I really like her voice.
Is it totally irrelevant,
I don't know
or would
why
it
you guys
affect
are so
the bar
weird
in
about
some way? And this is how I'm thinking about it.
I
if
think
you
her
do
voice
have
is
some
great.
alternative scheme, and it might, under C-clamors, you might say, listen, that scheme isn't complete enough, that Congress was directing something only to that. But wouldn't the presence of a scheme cut against? I mean, would it adjust the bar, the amount of clarity that has to be showed at step one? Because if there is some scheme, some method, mechanism by which the beneficiary
Okay.
can
Let me just look for it.
challenge the state's denial of her ability to seek the provider of her choice, I guess it doesn't seem like it's completely sealed off is a different question. Do you agree, or how should I think about it?
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's exactly what the court did in Gonzaga, where it said that the available remedy, there you could go to the federal government and register a complaint, buttressed the analysis that there was no clear right created in that FERPA provision. And I think it's the same thing here, where you've got a provider remedy and you've also got a beneficiary remedy that does not involve reinstating the provider. That's exactly the kind of clarity that should make the bar even higher. So when
But the beneficiary remedy, as Justice Sotomayor pointed out, that's if your claim is denied, right? So then that's the beneficiary taking the risk, going to the provider she wants to see, and then potentially having to pay out of pocket, right?
Well, it's a little bit different than that. If she's denied up front, say she applies to be a Medicaid recipient and she's turned down, she could appeal that decision.
I drank
it's really
beer
about
with
the
my
status
friends.
of her ability to
Sometimes
get Medicaid
I had too many
benefits,
beers.
or whether
I
a
like
particular
beer.
procedure
I still
is
like
covered.
beer.
But
Had
it's
beers,
significant,
have
we
some
think,
beers.
that
One beer,
Congress
drink
gave the
beer,
beneficiary
drinks
the right
beer,
to
drank
challenge what
beer,
the
and
beneficiary
drinking
has
beer.
personal knowledge
You've probably
of, her
had
care.
beers,
And it
Senator.
gave the
Each
provider the
week,
right,
Ralph
what the provider is
Club,
familiar with,
biggest
the reasons why they
contributor.
were
You know,
disqualified.
I got a weak stomach, whether it's
Mr.
with
Birch, I mean,
beer.
like,
I like
don't
beer.
you
I like
think,
beer. I don't know if
I
you
want to go
like
see
beer.
Dr. Jones, and Dr. Jones, that's the provider of my choice, and the state has disqualified Dr. Jones. And as Justice Kagan points out, the statute says may obtain the benefits. There's no mechanism,
I'm gonna load that one up.
beneficiary to say, well, you're depriving me of my ability, we won't call it right, we won't use the loaded word, but my ability to see the provider of my choice, and nobody's disputing that Dr. Jones can provide the services in a competent way that I want to have.
Well, in a sense, what all that means is that the beneficiary doesn't have the ability to whip out a magic wand and then just hit on the head the doctor that they want, and then they must be qualified under Medicaid. And this is getting a little bit more into the question of what's qualified, but that's not the right. The way that the statute conceptualizes this is it's like when I go to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and I don't get to pick any doctor that I want. If I want to go to Johns Hopkins, I can't request a doctor unless they're on the list. And this, any qualified provider provision works the same way. The state decides who the providers are who are qualified, and you get to choose among them. And they decided that Planned Parenthood was unqualified for many reasons, chiefly because they're the nation's largest abortion provider.
What about substantial compliance? So do you conceive of substantial compliance as giving the state a little bit of wiggle room to maybe not be entirely in compliance? And if so, how does that really affect the step one, the Gonzaga analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. So substantial compliance says that everything has to be in the plan, but when the state administers the plan, it doesn't have to meet 100% of every jot and tittle in the statute. And if they start to deviate in any way, they don't enforce this provision or they modify this provision, there's experimental flexibility in there, and the secretary is the one who makes the call. He or she says, you've gotten so far out of whack, I'm going to withhold some or even all of your funding, but as long as the secretary's happy, they can continue on their path.
But how does that bear on whether it's rights-creating language?
Thank you for that follow-up question, Justice Barrett.
And
it's
we
because
drank
if
beer,
you have a right,
and I said
it's something that
sometimes-
can't be taken away.
sometimes
and so in a context where the
probably
state
had
can
too
not
many
be
beers,
following
and
or
sometimes
administering
we
that
dr-
provision
yeah,
at
we
all,
drank beer,
and the secretary
and I said
can say
sometimes-
no harm, no foul, that's the exact opposite of a right. And that's why this structure, in addition to the language, makes it so clear that this is not a right.
What a
Justice
great
Jackson?
day to be alive.
So, was there an administrative
Pura
appeal process
vida.
in the
Yes,
Select
thank
Case
you. I'll take it. Let's go.
In the Tlefsky scenario, there was an ability for someone to register a complaint with the federal government.
So there was a
Hi,
process
Val.
there. and that
Prescott,
we still
Arizona.
held
It's
that there
cold.
was
Ooh,
rights
it's cold here
creating
too.
language.
Oh, sure, because you had a separate Bill of
I
Rights
keep a
that
notebook
mentioned
of
the word rights
or
2 dozen
six,
times.
and I
that
can't
rights
find
creating
things
So
when
it's
I
not
need.
about whether or not there's actually an appeal process. It's about, again, your magic words.
Some
You have to
people
say
get stuck in
rights.
a childish voice
Well,
because of
I guess-
trauma from sexual.
I don't wanna
Really?
offend
Oh, I
any
didn't know
justice.
that. Butterflies.
We're fine with a
I
magic
hadn't
words
heard about
test if you
that.
want to do that, because then it would be clear.
I can understand how trauma would shape a lot of those things.
Import of the separate
That
appeal
makes sense.
process. You're saying in a
don't think hers
situation
comes
in
from
which
that.
Congress has
Hers
used
is
the word
from that
right,
being a
doesn't
Christian
matter.
fundamentalist.
It's just one of many factors. And so in Tlefsky, you had a separate
But I
provision.
could be
There was a
wrong.
Bill of Rights. You had the word right. And
Oh, I
most
bet it's
importantly, there was
beautiful,
the
Val.
connective tissue, where that rights-creating language, the beneficiaries were the subject of that, and the states were directed to follow that. The nursing facilities.
All right, let me ask you about clarity and Justice Kavanaugh's argument. So you indicate that you believe that lower courts need greater clarity,
Yes,
but
we drank
took
beer.
this case
Yes, we drank
on
beer.
the basis of a pre-Tlefsky split. So as we sit here today, we actually don't have any idea what the lower courts in the main are doing post-Tlefsky. And I'm looking at Judge Wilkinson's opinion in this case, and he seems to have a pretty good sense of what our cases mean. I mean, he goes through all the cases, summarizes the evolution of our case law from Wilder to Blessing to Gonzaga to Tlefsky. He explains in
Yeah,
a
my
very
dad loved
nuanced
Costa
way
Rica.
how each case
I went down there
refined
with him when
the
we went to
test
Cuba.
for Section 1983 enforceability.
I spent
and
a
I
lot of
understand
time
you
down there,
disagree
actually.
with how he's applied
7,000
what
IRS agents
the test
cut.
is in this situation. But is there any part of his
Do you
summary
like tears
of
in
the
your beers?
cases
I love
and
tears in my
where we
beers.
are in
I
terms
love
of the evolution
MAGA
of the
tears in
law
my beers.
that you disagree with?
A number of things, as you might expect.
Please.
First, Judge Wilkinson cites Blessing, he cites Wilder, cases that this court did not rely on in Tlefsky, but as Judge Richardson points out in his
No, he
concurrence-
cites and explains how we've moved. So now he had this case that we are looking at today, both before and after Tlefsky. Before, he says, 1983, rights creating language, you're fine. Tlefsky comes down, we GVR, which we standard practice when there's an intervening opinion. He reads Tlefsky and he says, this actually confirms what I understand the law to be, and he explains very clearly how we get here, what the analysis is, and what the test is today. So I guess I don't understand what the remaining confusion is, and certainly we're only 2 years out from Tlefsky, so there is no confirmation that lower courts are still confused about what they're supposed to be doing now.
Two very specific responses to that, Justice Jackson. First, he did not eschew the cases that this court was no longer using. That's the confusion we were just talking about. But more important, he didn't understand the clear or explicit or an unambiguous rights-creating language component of the test. It's exactly what Justice Kavanaugh was describing.
So you just disagree with what he says, but it's not like we need to go back and revisit the old cases. We've arrived at this point. You think he's getting it wrong. I totally understand that, but it just seems to me odd that we would, wind back the clock many, many years and talk about what these old cases said when we've all agreed that we've evolved to this current point.
I don't think you need to go back other than to make clear to help judges like Judge Richardson to know what cases are still good law or not. But
All right,
what
let
we're
me
talking
ask
about.
you another question. To what extent?
Can I just finish?
Yes, please.
Yeah, but the important thing is Judge Wilkinson doesn't get the explicit rights-creating language. It's not just a misapplication. It's a misunderstanding of the test. When he looks at 1396A and sees that a plan must include these things so the secretary can approve it, he thinks that that's a directive to the state, and it's not. He looks at words like may obtain or the fact that the statute references individual and thinks that's clear rights-creating language, when it's not.
All right, so you disagree with him. Let me ask you about the part of your list of things related to whether or not this is rights-created language that relates to the fact that this is part of state plan requirements. I think you say, that's one indicia of it not being rights-created. But I guess I'm looking at Section 1320A2 in the statute, which applies to the Medicare
I like it. We
Act,
spend a lot of time
which Congress enacted
in San Jose
response
and
to our
My dad had a
decision in Souter, which
girlfriend.
had said a similar
Of
thing.
course.
Souter had held
That lived
that
outside
a
of San
Social
Jose.
Security Act provision was not
So
privately
we spent some time
enforceable
visiting with her
because
too.
it appeared in a list
And then we went to
of
Cuba.
state
I love
plan
Cuba.
requirements.
Cuba's
In response
incredibly
to that,
beautiful.
Congress enacted a statute
Incredibly
that
beautiful.
specifically says, quote, a provision is not deemed unenforceable
Really
because of
amazing.
its inclusion in a section of this
Amazing
chapter
place.
requiring a state plan or specifying the contents of a state plan. And that provision is applicable
And you walk through the
to
streets
the Medicare
in
statute. So
Havana,
if we
and you just hear
take
music
into
coming out of
account
buildings.
or give any weight
Like
to
people
the
playing
fact that this is
instruments.
in the
It's so
listing of a state
beautiful.
plan,
It's
aren't we
just so
doing
gorgeous.
exactly what Congress has told us we're not supposed to do?
I love
No,
it.
because the key phrase in that statutory first sentence that you read is because of, and we know that's a but for.
Oh, my
And so
dad.
what
I
that
had to
means is
contact
when a provision is simply
multiple
on a
women
list,
when he died.
That can't be the standalone reason why it doesn't create rights. But as the
Multiple
plurality
women
reason-
in different countries.
As to why it
just like the plurality in Armstrong, absolutely. 20 years
He
after
was
that
a
statute
he
was
was a
adopted.
he
And-
was
and
a
we're not just
So how
relying
would
on the
Congress
list.
have made it clear that we're
if
not
you
supposed
will.
to do that? They would have to, the
He
statute would
loved
have
the
to say you
ladies.
can never look at this as a factor in determining whether or not.
Yes, I mean, that's very different than because of. And so, of course, we're not just relying on the 87 list. We're relying on the fact
Sure,
that
you
this
have a
is-
whole list. I'm just
Yes.
trying to understand the extent to which this factor is consistent with the will of Congress.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel.
Mr. Chief Justice.
Mr. Hawkins?
Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the court, the text, context, and structure of A23 confirm that it does not create a private right. Starting with the text, A23 lacks the unambiguously rights-creating language we saw in the FINRA statute in Tlefsky, which used the word right nearly 24 times in its own Bill of Rights. And read in context, A23 is part of a conversation between the federal government.
We're just going to stop us here because there is an AI examining trends in innovation and competition for AI. There's a Ted Cruz hearing on Boeing. Healthy workforce. I don't know what that is. It's clearly not really about a healthy workforce. Just making sure I'm checking in to make sure none of those sound more compelling than what we're listening to right now.
And the states. It's buried deep among 86 administrative provisions arranged in no discernible order and directed to a plan administrator and the HHS secretary. Structurally, it's part of a substantial compliance regime, which, as Gonzaga recognized, shows a concern with compliance only in the aggregate. That's not usually how we think of rights. On top of that, A23 compliance can be waived by the federal government, which makes the creation of a right all the more implausible. Finally, A23 includes multiple enforcement mechanisms of its own, including state administrative remedies subject to judicial review and the denial of funding. Tlefsky emphasized that rights-creating statutes are atypical, but this is a run-of-the-mill spending clause statute, and holding
Jim,
otherwise
that's
would
so
invite
cool.
line-drawing problems.
Oh, nice.
I welcome the court's questions.
What do you think is left of Wilder and Blessing after Tlefsky and Gonzaga?
Well, Justice Thomas, we think that the star footnote in the Armstrong decision effectively overruled Wilder. It specifically said that Wilder was repudiated. We think that's functionally the equivalent of saying overruled. And it didn't mention Wright by name, but we think Wright and Blessing are no longer good law either. I heard my friend, counsel for petitioner, note the confusion in the concurring opinion below about those cases, but I thought it would have been clear after Armstrong.
Mr. Hawkins, you talked a lot about the structure of this statute and the fact that this is one of 87 and so forth. And we heard that argument some years back in the Souter case from the government, and the court accepted it, and Congress did not. Congress came right back and passed an amendment and said the fact that this is listed in this big 87 item list.
And there's also a
should
Securing
not be
America's
thought
telecoms
to have
from
anything to
state-sponsored
say
cyber
with
attacks,
whether
the Salt
something in
Typhoon
that
thing.
list is a right. Not everything in that list is a right, but the fact that it's in that list is pretty irrelevant to the question of whether something is a right.
Well, respectfully, Justice Kagan, I don't think we read 1320A2 quite the same way. I think we're effectively aligned with petitioner on this, that the because of language is creating a but-for requirement. It's saying that the sole reason cannot be that it appears in this list of plan requirements. And we think that's the best reading because that's consistent with Gonzaga and the sort of
Yeah, I would have thought that if Congress goes to the trouble of passing this statute, what Congress was looking at was like, oh, you know, we agree with their result in Souter, but
No, we're going to go to this right now. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Of dollars in economic
This is,
losses to date, meaning that
man.
cyber attacks threaten
Get out
both
of the
our
way,
national and
Clarence.
economic security. Estimates indicate that 40 to
Sorry, I
70%
know
of
I'm
our
switchy.
private and public sector cybersecurity workforce and resources are spent on navigating a patchwork of overlapping, contradictory, and duplicative regulatory regimes. These contradictory schema are promulgated not only at the international, local, and federal level, but often between federal agencies themselves. Every minute spent navigating the bureaucratic morass of conflicting rules is time actually spent focused away from cyber threats. So, my question
I can't get
for
rid.
you,
I can't find
and I'll go
you,
with
Clarence.
Mr. Amoroso.
Where'd you go?
What steps should Congress and the Trump administration take to harmonize federal cybersecurity regulations to ensure that cybersecurity resources and the cyber workforce are focused on protecting American citizens and our critical infrastructure?
Well, thank you for the question. And on behalf of every CISO on the planet, we'd sure like to see fewer frameworks and regulations. The NIST cybersecurity framework, which is in version 2, is really good. And it's almost like an umbrella standard to most of the other standards that are imposed on an enterprise security team. So I think if you had 50 heads of security across the whole critical infrastructure, even mid-size and small companies, they'd all agree that simplifying that to 1 or 2 frameworks would be a really good idea. Now, we use these tools called GRC tools, governance, risk, and compliance tools. So we've been able to automate away a lot of the complexity. So we've dealt with it, but it would be quite welcome if there was some simplification there.
Do you have any thoughts on how tools like artificial intelligence could be deployed to assist in reviewing and constructing a framework?
Oh, they'd be great. I mean, everyone in the room here has used ChatGPT, where you ask it a complex question, you feed this complex thing and say, explain this to me. Well, think about complex regs and asking how it might apply to an industry. AI is really good at that. And so we've gotten pretty good at dealing with the, you'd use some words like complex, some rest, absolutely accurate. We've dealt with that using technology, but still it'd be nice to simplify that. I think that would be, it would clean up a lot of the security infrastructure we have in place.
Would it? Would it really? Or would
Mr.
it
Blaze, Professor Blaze, your written
it?
testimony outlined a concern that I share, that lawful access mandates present risk to Americans. Both tools may be abused, both that those tools may be abused or that those lawful access mandates may be exploited.
That's good.
By malign actors. And you talked about encryption.
The state should talk to Queenie. She apparently has dirt on Pat King since he dumped her, so she's all kinds of mad. I think the state should talk to Queenie. She apparently has some pretty good dirt on him.
Communication tools, which, by the way, I really appreciate you raising that in your piece. In response to the Salt Typhoon attack, federal law enforcement agencies issued a series of public reports and statements recommending that Americans.
I think the state needs to understand that if they look at the enemies and the KFAB between some of these freedom fighters, they might actually be able to put these people, shut these people up a lot faster.
Without objection.
If they did that.
Thank you. And back to you, Mr.
All they
Blaze.
should do is watch
Would
the live
imposing such a
streams,
mandate
and then they
expose
might
those
be able to
communication
shut this
methods to the
down a
same
lot
risk
more effectively.
present without encryption?
I mean, end-to-end encryption makes communication strictly more secure. It's not perfect. It's not a panacea. It still leaves us vulnerable.
Mr. Biggs, why did you seek a preemptive pardon?
But what effective end-to-end encryption does is essentially removes attacks against the infrastructure, such as we saw in the Salt Typhoon attacks that have been made public so far, from the equation. Essentially, signals encryption, we don't know that it's perfect. We don't know that there aren't hidden
I'm not talking specifically about Signal. I'll
Right.
save that for another round of questions.
Sure, but for example, Signal.
Yeah.
We don't.
He doesn't
know
wanna talk
if any
about
of this
Signal.
encryption is perfect. We don't know if there's some attack that will be discovered in the future. But it's probably safe to say that the easiest way to attack an end-to-end encrypted communication is by attacking the endpoint. That it essentially becomes a waste of time.
Or hiring
to,
Pete Hegseth.
attack it through the infrastructure, and that's a significant gain.
So while we're here, Mr. Chairman, if you'll indulge me just real quickly, it's been publicly reported that the UK has been putting pressure on Apple to build a lawful access backdoor into encrypted iCloud backups, not unlike what you talked about in the 90s. Senator Ron Wyden and I have raised concerns
Yeah,
about this approach with the Trump
He's an
administration,
unsecured
specifically
endpoint.
asking the administration to put pressure on the UK to
Michael
back
Waltz
down
actually would have been
or
a
face
better one, but
consequences.
Pig's Breath would
And I
work
ask
too.
unanimous consent that on our February 13th, 2025 letter be entered into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
And so here's the question, Professor Blaze. What tools are at the administration's disposal to ensure that our own allies are not taking steps that jeopardize Americans' privacy?
Well, again, we should encourage the use of end-to-end encryption because we use the internet and
Yes,
communications.
it's true, Jim Nalgren, you're right.
Essentially, everything about our economy.
It's a
everything about
bunch
our
of role
national
playing. That's
everything
what
about
this.
our
That's what the
personal
problem
privacy
is. Too many role
depends on
players.
the security of our communications infrastructure, and so we need to promote the use of end-to-end encryption enthusiastically and vigorously. And regulations that mandate things like cryptographic backdoors are a step backwards from doing that and will make us less safe.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for
Yeah,
indulging
because
me.
they're actually our enemy
Thank you.
now,
And I
if you
recognize
didn't
the
know that.
gentleman from
Oh no,
California,
I
Mr.
hate
Garcia,
this
for 5
guy.
minutes.
He's the
Thank you,
chairman.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you to our witnesses
penis
for being here. And obviously, I think we can all agree that the Salt Typhoon hacks were very serious, deserve a full response. Clearly, China is targeting our networks, and we need to step up to prevent them and, of course, prevent worse things from happening. But, of course, I strongly disagree with comments that we should not be discussing other serious national security concerns. Members of Congress have the absolute right in hearings to ask questions that are of grave national security concern. And the fact that we, as the House minority and Democrats, are focused on the serious national security breaches that have happened because of Secretary Hegseth and others on the Signal fiasco, I think is the right response from us. The American people demand accountability for the Signal disclosures. And as a reminder, we have not only Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, we have National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, the Vice President, the CIA Director, our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary, and the Director of National Intelligence, all debating foreign policy, arguing about national strategy, and sharing what is clearly war plans, even though they'd like to say that they weren't, on a signal change. So this is of absolute importance to this subcommittee and important for us to discuss it. Of course, they're doing all this while chatting with a reporter. We can all agree, hopefully our Republican colleagues included, that that's totally insane and a level of incompetence and recklessness that should never be in our
They
government.
actually are not going to
Now,
admit
Dr.
that
Blaze,
it's insane.
we've seen this
Okay,
many
they're not
times.
going to
This is, of
admit
course,
that.
one of the updates from Secretary Hegseth. Dr. Blaze, here we have the Defense Secretary laying out exactly when and which planes were going to fly and when our pilots would be in danger. Now, Dr. Blaze, I understand that Signal is a good commercial option to communicate. A lot of folks use it. But to communicate exact times, directives, war plans is absolutely unacceptable. Would you, I know you've said it before, but do you agree that this,
Just
from a
the
national
fact that
security
it's called the
perspective, should
Houthi
not be on
PC
this type of
small
unsecured?
group?
Sorry, I have no idea at what level that would be classified, but it's certainly sensitive national security information, and intuitively.
And do we agree that Secretary
Do you
Hegseth or
think?
anyone at DOD should know this, correct?
Yes, anybody with access to classified information would also be briefed and have
The
access
fuck does
to
Kuno
the
care?
authorized tools for
He doesn't.
handling that.
And so here we have Secretary Hegseth sharing information which exposes our soldiers to danger, even though he should know that information could actually get to our adversaries. And remember, the best cybersecurity practices in the world actually don't matter if you're also careless enough to send all of this classified information, which I believe is classified, straight to an actual reporter. So, Dr. Blaze, can you remind us what would happen to an
clearly that
enlisted
was
person
unintentional.
or an
Come on.
officer who would leak similar information?
Well, I think, it's
What do you
safe to
think would
say
happen?
that if I did something like that, my access to classified information would be immediately revoked. I would probably be terminated immediately and be facing a criminal investigation.
Right. So if you're a rank and file member of the military, you certainly would receive severe punishment, a variety of different options. Yet the Secretary of Defense is still in his position, having committed a major offense.
I'm losing my mind.
Clearly breached national security protocols and put American lives in danger. Many of us have said it before. We'll repeat it again. He should resign or he should be fired. In addition to that, Hegseth, of course, we all know, has had numerous other issues in his past.
Bring up the
been accused
Gmail.
of numerous other things, was never qualified to actually do the job, and continues, in my opinion, to not live up to this enormous mistake that he, of course, and others made. Now, I want to also just point out the bombings did not solve anything. Attacks from Yemen still continue. And the whole episode revealed breathtaking incompetence. We got lucky this time that no Americans were killed, but unless things change, we're sitting on a ticking time bomb. And I just also want to note, because I think it's important that—
Can you
the
imagine
CIA
that
director
the reporters
and DNI
that some
director,
of them
Tulsi
have
Gabbard,
in their
who were
signal
active participants in the
contact
chat,
list?
have told Congress under oath that they don't remember basic
Who else
facts about the
is in their
conversations
signal
they actually had
chats?
and were involved with, of course, to avoid any sort of responsibility. Personally, I think they lied to Congress and should be held accountable. Now, we also know this isn't the only time these people have used Signal to discuss classified information or other systems. And I just want to remind us that the Wall Street Journal just reported that Walsh, quote, created and hosted multiple other sensitive national security conversations on Signal with cabinet members. And of course, now we're also learning that he's sending information through his personal Gmail account. So this is an enormous amount to investigate. We absolutely have a right to bring it up in this committee, and we need additional accountability.
But his
With that,
emails.
I yield back.
Yeah, 100%
Thank
they
you. I now
perjured
recognize the
themselves in that
gentleman
hearing.
from
Yes,
Arizona, Mr.
100%.
Crane, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this important hearing today. Thank you guys for coming. You guys are
God,
starting
this
to see
guy.
why
This guy's
it's
a
tough for us to get anything
douchebag.
done
Oh
up
my
in
God.
Washington, D.C. I do want to defend my colleague, Mr. Cloud.
Douche whistle.
I don't believe he ever said that, the Signal chat episode was a success. I believe he was talking about the strikes against the Houthis.
Oh my God, he parts his hair down the middle. It's so weird.
My colleagues on the other side, who now claim to be the accountability and transparency
Under the
police,
table, wishing he'd got the
said
triangular
absolutely
bottle.
nothing. When we pulled out
The
of
bigger
Afghanistan
size.
and,
Look at this. Look at that
13
clown
Marines
tie. Look at this clown
amongst other
tie.
issues. So
Look at that fucking
moving
clown
on to
tie.
this hearing,
What the hell is that
I think
knot?
it was great, Dr. Amoroso, that you talked
that a
about
maggot
potholes
knot?
and sinkholes.
And what is this? What is this straight part down the middle? What the fuck is that?
Potholes,
What's
but
this,
you seem
Max?
more focused on the bigger
We have a
attacks
shoulder pad
that will come in
violation.
the future.
We have a shoulder pad. Hi, Clark.
Is that correct?
We have a shoulder pad violation
Sir, would
right
you,
here.
Would you?
Uh-oh,
look
you know what
at
I think?
some
You know
of
what I
the,
think he's looking like a little bit? You know what I think
individuals
he's
that
looking
have
like a
hacked
little
into
bit?
our energy grid as a possible sinkhole scenario?
Yep, that's right.
Can you tell us what your
That's
major
right.
concerns are when it comes
This
to
fucking guy.
infrastructure like that?
Disruption.
Yep.
Oops.
Isn't it
Apple
true that
pie
Director
dolls.
the former
Apple head
FBI
dolls.
Director Ray
Another
talked
Max
about
Flower
that himself?
exclusive.
I'm not sure. That's a common point, though, certainly.
Mr. Steinman, do you remember that?
I believe I do, sir.
Yeah. What do you think would happen if the CCP or one of our adversaries were to take down our energy grid?
I think it would sow incredible chaos. I think it would be damaging to
My stomach hurts.
almost every American in the first and in the second order, given the
I'm
food supply
sorry.
chains that we use to eat every day, the energy required to purify water, to process sewage, et cetera. And
Sorry, Mr.
respectfully, sir, I
Steinman.
would just offer that there have been numerous unclassified statements by executive branch senior executives to say that we do have foreign adversaries on that energy grid.
Right. Absolutely. One of the things that you guys brought up is whoever controls AI and does the best at implementing it into our
You have to blame
cybersecurity,
Max Flower for this. I didn't come up with the Apple head doll. She
you guys
did.
talk to
This is her
how
fault.
the United States government is
This
doing
is
and
I blame
implementing,
Max.
developing AI and using it within cybersecurity.
I can offer a couple of points. I spend a lot of time on that.
Oh, do
the
you?
First, I think
Sorry.
everyone should recognize, again,
hate
another analogy.
Apparently, I'm just
If
mad
you're a
at
human
everybody.
being playing a well-programmed computer in chess,
Wait, let me see
you
if I've got
realize
somebody
you
else.
lose every time, right? I think everyone gets that. So just, do you think we can beat a computer at cyber? You kind of can't. And as your adversary starts to really move
Wait,
in that
I wish I had
direction,
removed the background
you
on
have
this
to do
first,
that
but
too.
I'll
Now,
have to
when we
figure out.
think AI, in fact, for any of you, if you're thinking AI, the first word that should come to mind is data. You have to have data to train systems to learn, just like with
baby.
children. They have to be exposed to experiences to learn. AI has to be exposed to data and, to some sense, experience.
He tied his tie
That's
with
the first
oven
thing
mitts.
we need to do as a nation. So we have a lot of privacy
Oh
concerns.
fuck!
A
God,
lot of
the stomach. My stomach
issues
hurts.
of intellectual property and
This
ownership.
looks like
and
he's talking.
competition.
Doesn't it look
You've
like
seen some
Pete's
of it
actually
here.
talking?
Here, some of the squabbles that we have in our country. We have to fix that. If we can't fix that, then we'll never be able to build, like, I heard the president talk about this big global shield.
I am
Well, I
brilliant.
think that's a perfect.
Come on, you're not telling me that this is not the best television ever.
That allows us to protect against AI offense. And the only way
Oh
to
damn,
do
he's
that
kind of moving his
is
shoulders
we have to
though.
architect something that makes sense. We need to
There we
have the
go.
right access
Oops,
to data.
almost. Yeah,
We
there
have
we-
to have
that's good enough.
national labs involved, and large critical infrastructure has to be involved. Academia has to be involved, and our government leaders need to be working together to help us coordinate something along those
Mr.
lines.
Steinman, you want to take that one?
Yes, sir. I would also
yeah,
offer
I
that
win
it might
the
be worth the
internet.
committee's time to look into.
Oh my God, how is this
some
not
of the
entertaining?
barriers to information sharing that private sector executives and
I
companies
gotta fix
face.
that picture.
I believe it was mentioned
Exit
previously
picture.
around DHS's role as acting as an information clearinghouse. But there are a number of barriers around liability protection that I believe, in order to adequately address, will require congressional action. So I would just
God
offer
damn.
that up as a possible place where you all could do some work.
Thank you. I yield back.
I'm so ridiculous.
Thank you. I request unanimous consent that the subcommittee shall have a second round of questions for the members. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. So I was hoping to talk about Salt Typhoon more, but
but now I
just
wanna talk
clarify
about
some
this.
things about this signal chat issue. So there's really three components of it. There's
Oh dear,
the
you're gonna
app
explain it to
signal.
us?
There's the individuals that are communicating on the app's cell phones, and then there's the content and the people that had access to the content. So let's talk with Signal first. Mr. Blaze, the Salt Typhoon attack, would Signal messages have been susceptible to the Salt Typhoon attack?
So from what we know about the Salt Typhoon attack, so far it has been limited to the infrastructure itself.
To the communication, unsecured communication on the infrastructure.
On the
So
infrastructure.
They were
So-
basically collecting data that was going through the infrastructure, and
There we go.
because if it was unsecured, they would be able to access it and see what it says, but if it was secured, they would just throw it away because it's ones and zeros. Doesn't make any sense.
That's right. What Signal effectively does
Yes.
means
Yo
attacks against the
Wawa
infrastructure.
Yacht Aquarian 1776.
That's exactly what I wanted
That's
to say.
exactly what he
So
looks like.
Signal has
If you know,
actually
you know.
been encouraged to be used by the Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, and they actually recommended under the Biden administration for potentially highly targeted individuals to use it. So not only is it
I got more
best
hair
practice
than
to
you
use
do.
end-to-end encrypted, it's encouraged.
Oh, we should get
to
an
the point
Amazon
where,
wig. I wonder if I still
when
have that
the
wig.
CIA director took his post, they were like,
Where
you
is
need to
that?
use
Wait.
Signal. You can't use anything else. So I guess, number one, Signal is secure unless the cell phone is compromised. So my question, Mr. Blaze, does it matter what app you're using if the cell phone is compromised?
Well, no, but let me just add a bit of nuance to what you said. Signal is secure in that it protects the information in transit. But it's one of the reasons it's not authorized for classified national security purposes is it lacks features designed to protect classified information, such as ensuring that the recipient has a clearance and is authorized to receive it.
Correct. So, but again, Signal is secure end-to-end encryption, but again, it has to go to the right person.
That has to go to the right person. So it would be, the classified tools would make it impossible, for example, to inadvertently add a reporter.
But again, if the cell phone is compromised, it doesn't matter what app you're using because the cell phone's compromised. And in this case, our national security actors are not, have their cell phones checked, their cell phones were not compromised. Obviously, the issue now becomes the content, which was not classified. Was it best practice for a reporter to be included? No. Had that reporter told the Houthis what was going to happen, would that be really bad? Yeah, it didn't happen. I can promise you that this will not happen again.
I can't believe this
National
guy.
Security Advisor Waltz
That's
has
quite a
indicated
backbend.
this was an error, and I mean, listen, it's an error
It's
that
quite
will
a
not be
backbend you're
repeated.
doing, bitch.
He is an incredible asset to our national security team.
Hmm.
So again, there's just a
bet.
lot of confusion around this. Signal is a secure end-to-end encrypted app.
Here.
The cell phones were not compromised. A person was added.
Wait,
in
I got to
error,
get it on him
and
before he
it did not have any
goes.
impact on the outcome of the operation, which was a success. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing here is that I feel like my colleagues across the aisle are
damn
talking out of both sides of their mouths when
No,
they're
sweetie, we're not.
concerned about
Okay, you're talking out of both sides of your
this
mouth,
signal check
bitch.
that had no adverse impact to national security and did not involve classified information. And I can promise you it won't happen again when
I can
we didn't
promise
have any
you it won't.
hearings on
You
Joe
can
Biden having
personally?
classified information that he actually
That's a
had no
ridiculous
right to
statement.
have in his garage.
That's the most ridiculous statement.
From his
Oh,
time in
what?
the Senate. Hillary Clinton's, classified email private server for days.
Excuse
and
me?
Joe Biden used a fake email account to correspond with his son's business associates. So
What?
I guess all of these things, we're here to talk about Salt Typhoon and what we can do to, as Dr. Amoroso pointed out, avoid the sinkhole. We've got potholes
It might not be
for
the
days.
best Karen
The sinkhole
haircut.
is coming, and we need to be working
This one might be better.
to make sure that we are ready, and I would say that we certainly are not right now. So I look forward to working with my colleagues across the aisle to make sure that our country's critical infrastructure is secure, and we got a lot of work to do. With that, I yield back, and I
To
now
yourself?
recognize the
You
gentleman
fucking
from
idiot.
Virginia, Mr. Subramaniam,
Mr.
for 5
Chair,
minutes.
Could I get unanimous consent first to
Oh,
enter
I
into
love
the
this guy.
record, a couple articles. One, Chinese hackers are said to have targeted phones
Okay.
used by Trump and Vance.
Different
This was
wig.
October 25th, 2024. I believe that's New York Times.
Without objection, so ordered.
And then the second one was Pentagon staffers.
Salt Typhoon.
Pentagon
Yeah, Salt
warned
Typhoon was
staffers
a
against
hack
using
last
Signal
year.
before
Let me
White
get
House
information
chat
on that for you.
I believe this was Washington Post on Tuesday, March 25th, 2025.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Blaze, have you seen any evidence that the personal devices of the people who are using Signal were compromised or not compromised?
I've seen no evidence one way or the other.
Yeah, so we don't actually know if their phones were compromised or not, but we do know from the articles I just sent into the record that certainly the vice president was already a target. And certainly if I were looking to target someone, I would look at our national security advisors. I just have to say that I'm glad I haven't heard from the administration much about this being an error, but I'm glad I'm hearing it from some. But what I really want to hear from the administration is that they made a mistake, that they're going to fix it, and here are the steps they're going to take to make corrective actions in fixing what was a serious, serious blunder and serious leak of national security intelligence. And that's my problem with this, is that even if you say that mistakes happen, there are no steps right now in fixing this as far as I know. And there's no, one admitting that they made a mistake. And there's nobody telling us what corrective actions are actually being taken, how prevalent this
There's some
issue
background
was.
on
I
Salt
entered into the
Typhoon.
record earlier about how
Yeah, I just
previous
read that. There's a
administrations were
report from February.
hesitant to use Signal for this very reason that our witnesses are telling us today. One witness said that Signal could actually be hacked, even though it is encrypted end-to-end, because we now have quantum computing. That's a really good point. And then Mr. Blaze, Dr. Blaze has also mentioned that these systems are vulnerable, even setting aside Signal itself. And we have 13,000 secure facilities across the country, and we have staff for every one of these national security experts who are there for the very purpose of making sure that they can communicate anywhere at any time around the world, troop movements and other sensitive classified information. And so it's not like we haven't given the administration the resources to communicate securely. It's just they decided not to. And in doing so, I think they've broken at least 6 laws
Carla, I can't Wednesday
in regards to
either.
security as well as
With you,
transparency.
girl.
And
With you.
I think this is a big problem that the administration has broken these laws and not admitted any sort of fault or mistake. And the response has been to just toss this aside as ho-hum or chicken little, I think was said earlier. I think there needs to be more attention paid to what happened, how prevalent it is, and what the administration is actually going to do about it. And so this is relevant because, you know, today's hearing is about compromising our telecommunications infrastructure. But, you know, if you did a poll, I think we have a study of all the security.
You know, the universe seems
chief
to be
information
on our
security
side in
officers,
terms of telling us
I think
things.
80% said
but
that human risk was the number one
understand that.
problem in securing cybersecurity and telecom information. And I'd actually ask you, Mr. Blaze, would you agree with that characterization that human error might be the number one concern when it comes to telecom risks?
Good point.
That's probably true, although I'd quibble a little bit with how we define human error. A lot of human error is inevitable because of poor design choices for the systems that we use.
But I guess
No. Okay, there were 19 people on the Signal chat. 19. You're having one of the most sensitive conversations possible for members of the United States government. People's lives are actually in the balance. You're going to tell me that as the Vice President of the United States, that as the Director of whatever Mike Waltz is, National Security, whatever, that as the fucking Secretary of Defense, you're telling me that you can't look at a list of 19 numbers before you actually have a conversation involving military operations. You're telling me that you don't have the fucking responsibility to say, who are each of these people? Who are these people? Never mind the fact that you shouldn't be using that platform anyway for this type of conversation. Bullshit. I call bullshit. I expect more of these folks. They should be looking at the 19 numbers and saying, gosh, I don't recognize that guy. Who's JG? This is ridiculous. Laws were broken. You're absolutely right, Steve.
What I would really like is to just have an investigation into what happened. And one of the
apparently asking for an investigation is
things I'd like
ridiculous.
to share with
Change
my
your
colleagues is
iPhone
that
and
we've
Android
actually
messaging
asked
settings.
for an investigation. I think there are only Democrats on the letter
Jesus
to the
Christ.
administration right now.
Christ.
But I know some senators on the Republican side have actually openly asked for some sort of investigation. But at least we can get to the bottom of what happened, how prevalent this is, what we can do to fix
No,
it
they're
so that it never happens
Yeah,
again.
no, I know. I love
hear
him.
that that's a shared
fine.
goal, and I'd like to see us work together in doing that. And so instead of trying to sort of brush this aside as something that isn't a big deal, let's admit that it was a big deal, and let's try to take steps to fix it and not just try to cover this up. Thank you, and I yield.
Thank you. I now recognize the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. McGuire, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for coming here today. During the attack, Salt Typhoon maintained undetected access for up to 18 months. This incident is described as one of the most severe telecom hacks in U.S. history.
It's still going.
Despite
Did you not read the
existing
February
public-private
report that I
partnerships
just
to
put in our
prevent cyber
chat?
attacks, it seems as though there are
Congressman?
still significant information sharing gaps. Mr. Steinman, are there any federal laws or regulatory red tape that prevents or
confused.
hampers information sharing about hacks?
I had to
between
read
government
this because I didn't
agencies
study
and
it.
the telecommunications industry?
Mr. Kasar, what do you think?
Thank you, Congressman. I would, of course, defer to Mr. Amoroso's experience being the former Chief Information Security Officer of AT&T around specific granular challenges with information sharing, but I would
I
like
know,
to
the whole
emphasize the point
gaslighting
you
of not
made,
classified
which is that
nothing.
whether
It's so
questions of
ridiculous.
liability
Nothing to see
at the
here.
corporate
Yeah,
or the
it is so
individual
stupid.
level, questions of insurance, insurance policies. We saw that in the NotPetya cyber attack where, and in the Colonial Pipeline attack where we had issues of who would pick up the tab when there was a business interruption process as a result of a cyber attack, that it really is a deep nested issue.
Let me ask a question for Dr.
Yes, sir.
Amoroso.
I mean, is there a question?
The 2023 National Cybersecurity Strategy emphasizes preventing the abuse of U.S.-based infrastructure, but it largely omits deterrence. Dr. Amoroso, in your view, why was deterrence overlooked, and how critical do you think it is to incorporate it into the strategy?
Yeah, we'd come up
How
earlier,
important do
this
you think it
question
is
of
to deter
deterrence.
stuff?
I mean, certainly it helps. I mean, I'm an
Are you kidding
operator,
me?
so I wouldn't be the person doing the deterrence, but if someone's doing it, it's going to help.
I'm so
Your-
confused.
Your point about information sharing is an important one. You know, back in 96, I remember sitting in this building when we first started talking about it. It was
Yep, you're right, Max.
PDD 63. It was the
Oh my
first
God.
sort of ISAC.
This is
stuff.
so much worse
We
than
were
I
very
thought it was going to
hopeful
be.
that information
Oh my
sharing
God.
would solve a lot of problems.
Oh my
It kinda
fucking God.
hasn't. I wish it had, and I wish I could tell you that just improving the communications will make things better. But I've kind of given up on that. I think it's time now to build a new barn. You know what I mean? Like, I think the one we have has been patched so many times, and it's so rickety that you and I are standing looking at it going, you know what? Time to build a new barn.
Well, we all know the
Pete
definition of
Keg
insanity.
Seth.
And, you know, China believes that everything
I know, we
can
read about that
be used
yesterday,
as a
Steve.
weapon,
It's so
and it
stupid.
should be used as a weapon.
Oh,
So how would
okay.
you propose, Dr.
Your hair is too
Amoroso,
big.
the U.S.
Let's give you a
increase the
wig.
cost on China to deter their cyber operations, especially when they seem to act with impunity
There we go.
under the current framework?
Yeah, I understand. I obviously deterrence can be done in any number of ways.
This
Not really
AT&T
my
guy
area
is
of
squirrely. He
specialization.
moves around a lot.
Diplomacy, you can do it with
damn.
non-cyber. But I think the best deterrence of all is to have the best defense on the planet. You know, if they can't break in, then there's no discussion.
Yeah, it seems like we're in a reactive position rather than a proactive position on that.
I would agree. I think that's where we are now. I think you and I would agree on that. But I'd like to get around that. I think there's active defense that's different than deterrence. You know.
All
what I
right,
mean?
all right. Okay, okay,
So,
okay.
Congress
Okay,
and
okay,
President
okay.
Trump established the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency in 2018 to protect critical infrastructure.
He did? Okay.
And guard against
Sure he did.
cybersecurity threats. Under the Biden administration, CISA diverted resources to collude with social media companies to surveil
No, we
and
didn't.
censor American citizens.
No,
Would
they
you agree
didn't.
with that?
I don't know anything about that. The others might know something, but I don't
Mr.
know
Simon?
much.
Yeah, that's my understanding, sir.
What?
And how about Mr.
Give
Blake?
me a
Would you
fucking
agree with that
break.
statement?
I have no idea how the resources were allocated.
Sure. Well, thank God we got President Trump back in the White House to fix the broken agency and restore it to its congressionally directed mission. But I would ask you, if you
Didn't
wanted
they
to become a
destroy
subject
it?
matter expert
Isn't it been
in
dog-eared?
cybersecurity for the purposes of helping
I
the
am
Trump
so
administration, and I guess I'll
confused.
start with Mr. Steinman. Where would you go? What would you do to become a subject matter expert so you could better help make decisions in Congress to help President Trump's America First agenda and protect us from China and other adversaries?
There's great resources available at the SANS Institute. That's a place where I point a lot of aspiring young cybersecurity professionals. There are classes taught by my two fellow panelists at Georgetown and NYU. I'm sure they'd love to have you as well. Thank you.
Dr. Amoroso.
Ditto. There's a lot of good resources.
Absolutely, and I'll point out many of my students are here in the gallery.
Awesome. And tell me where they're students.
Georgetown.
With that, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Cloud, for 5 minutes.
McLeod.
Thank you again, Chairman. And one of the big concerns I have is, of course, we need to secure ourselves against China, harden our infrastructure, do everything we can to stand against what they're trying to do. But we are a free society as well. So I'm always mindful that keeping the
Should we go to the AI
is one of our
hearing?
top priorities. But keeping them
I
free
hate this guy.
is actually our top priority.
I think actually this is a great chance to move. Wait, let's see who else comes up. Oh, it's all the idiots. No, we're not going to stay with that because we've got another thing coming. I've got another thing coming. That's right. This is examining trends in innovation and competition for AI. Here's an AI. Let's see. How do we go? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I guess we'll just.
To the federal personnel payroll system. We know that DOGE has already copied massive amounts of our personal data onto its servers, and using that amount of data to train his AI model would give co-president Musk a huge edge over his competitors.
Oh my
Now,
God.
the administration will tell us that DOGE is being careful with our personal data, but this is the same administration whose national security advisor accidentally invited a journalist to a group chat on a private, unsecured messaging app where the Trump team was discussing war plans and classified information. And it's the same administration that conducted national security business over personal Gmail accounts. This administration has a culture of playing fast and loose with secret and private information. So now, how can we trust Elon Musk with our personal data when he and his AI company have so much to gain from it financially, Mr. Bedoya?
Give a broader answer, if I may. I do think, speaking just as for the FTC, I am very worried about the information the Commission holds getting into the wrong hands. The FTC regularly, as a matter of regular course of business, collects market-sensitive information about competitive strategy, and even top-level information about certain shops being active at certain times could, for a person, but definitely for an AI, be used to generate extremely sensitive inferences about otherwise confidential market activity.
So Elon Musk has his hands around that kind of information. Commissioner, I talked about the dangers of co-president using his personal data, co-president Musk using our personal data to train his AI models. Do you also see a threat to consumers? And what would your concerns be about that?
That takes all the fun
main
out
thing
of
I
it,
think
doesn't it,
about,
Jim?
With the use of data obtained from government agencies being used to train a model, speaking generally, is let's say a mistake is made and data is swallowed up into that model that shouldn't be. 20 years ago, you go into a system and just delete those files. But that's not how these models work now. This is like me saying to you, Congressman, please unlearn my face, right? Good luck with that. It doesn't make any sense. And so I'm obviously oversimplifying a little bit, but it's very difficult to unscramble those eggs.
That's a very good point.
And so I'm worried about competitive information getting into these models and therefore getting into the wrong hands, even if we realize it after the fact. That is definitely a real concern I have.
And those wrong hands are not necessarily in China. They're right here in DOGE.
Gentleman's time has
Chairman.
expired.
Mr. Chairman.
Now
Mr. Chairman, I have a UC request.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I request unanimous consent to submit a CNBC article entitled
Elon Musk, who co-founded firm behind ChatGPT, warns AI's one of the biggest risks to civilization, where Elon Musk states, quote, "We need to regulate AI safety. It is, I think, actually a bigger risk to society than cars or planes or medicine," close quote.
Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, and Chairman of the full committee, Mr. Jordan is now recognized for 5
Let
minutes.
me first do unanimous consent in light of the previous question.
Chairman's recognized.
I'd like to ask unanimous enter into the record story from the Hill. The FTC must be held accountable for its widespread leaks of confidential data.
Without objection.
Mr. Chilson, you worked at the FTC, is that
Jimmy's coming for you.
That's right. Chief Technologist at the FTC, I think was your title.
Doggy to AI risk. Hold my beer. I'm
And
taking all your
focused
data.
on, I'm looking from the bio here, the economics of privacy, blockchain-related issues. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Work for the commissioner.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're an attorney as well?
I am, yes.
You understand the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, all the things they teach us in law school and all that, all those important. Is it appropriate for the FTC
Wait,
to ask an
you
American
learned?
company, the journalist,
You
that
paid
they have
attention in law
communicated
school?
with?
You consider yourself someone who went to law school?
sir.
I don't think so either, but that's exactly what happened at the FTC. Mr. Bedoya works at just a couple years ago. They sent a letter to Twitter after Mr. Musk had purchased the business, and said it's recently reported that Twitter has been providing certain third-party journalist information. They named the journalist. Barry Weiss, Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger, Abigail Schreier.
Those are not
They
journalists.
named the journalist, and
No.
they say this: identify all
No,
journalists
those aren't
and other members of the
journalists, Jim.
media
You're
to whom
wrong.
you've granted any type of access to the companies of communication. Is that appropriate?
I don't see what it would have to do with most of the types of actions that the FTC would bring.
Seems to me it's totally getting at, violating the First Amendment, freedom of the press. You got a right as a company, people in a company, to talk to journalists.
Yeah.
And yet the FTC wants to know any and every journalist you've communicated, named 4 specifically, and wants to know any others you've talked
Mine is
to.
17.
What do you think, Mr. Chilson?
What do you
Pretty bad
think?
stuff that was going on there?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this then, too. They also they wanted to know every reason why Twitter terminated former Twitter employee Jim Baker. Do you know anything about that, Mr. Chilson?
Oh my
Why
God,
they've
Jim
been asking
Baker?
about that guy?
I don't know much about that, and I don't know.
I got my hunches.
weird.
Jim Baker was the
That's
general
too
counsel
weird.
at the FBI when the FBI was doing all
Jim
the crazy
Baker was a
things, going
cult
to the
leader.
FISA
We
court,
watched
getting
all
warrants,
about him
spying on
last
presidential
night. Oh my
campaigns. He then goes
God.
to work at Twitter. Mr. Musk buys Twitter.
Mine
and
says I
"I'm
can
gonna
probably
get rid
be
of
held
this
by
guy."
citing for
And now the FTC
Scientology.
wants to know why. I find that strange too. Every journalist you've talked to and why you got rid of Jim Baker.
No.
Let me ask you another one. Ernst & Young was named the assessor in the consent decree.
Oh my God. Oh, stop
focus
moving your
between
head,
The FTC
maggot.
and Twitter. The specific assessor was a guy, David Rowe. He testified under oath and said, quote, that if Ernst & Young did not include negative findings against Twitter, the FTC raised the specter that it would create other challenges for Ernst & Young over time.
Holy shit.
Does that seem to be the kind of
Yeah, is that what we want to do?
communication that should be going from the FTC
Thanks, Obama.
to the assessor at Ernst & Young, Mr. Chilson?
Seems like a form of
Yeah,
soft
Ernst & Young.
Is that accurate, Mr. Bedoya? Did you guys do that? Mr. Roque, again, this is under oath in the case. Is that what happened at the FTC?
Stop
Why would you
moving,
tell
Jim.
Ernst & Young, you better find out the right thing, you better find something negative against Twitter, you may not get business with us over time?
What? Who says
Thank you,
that?
Mr. Chairman, for the question. I'm not familiar with that particular communication, and so given that I am under oath, I don't want to give a wrong answer here.
So are you disputing whether it happened or not? It's a court filing.
No, sir, I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying I'm not familiar with that particular communication. And like you said, I'm under oath.
I'm asking you if it's appropriate or not. It happened. Here's what he said.
No, you're asking me to
Ernst & Young
speculate.
did not include negative findings against Twitter, the FTC raised the specter that it would create other challenges for Ernst & Young
Whose
over time.
reporting
We hire
is
Ernst
that?
& Young to be assessors in these kind of consent decree arrangements.
It is supposed to
all
be
the
a Karen
time.
cut. I mean, but we love our
See the
Karens. We
obvious
love our
threat there.
nice
I'm just asking
Karens.
if that's appropriate.
We're just,
Mr. Chairman,
but
who
these
is
aren't real
saying
Karens.
that statement? Who's writing it?
Documents that David Rowe communicated in the court that we have.
Really, is it transcript?
Check this out.
Forgive me, Mr. Rell is an Ernst & Young executive?
Yeah, he's the assessor you guys hired.
And he was, I'm sorry, I take this very seriously, and so what I would ask is if you submit it for the record, I'll take a good look at it and give you a full and complete answer. But I'm not familiar with the context of the statement.
Why'd you have to know about Jim Baker? why he was terminated. Companies are allowed to fire people.
Mr. Chairman, I did not sign those CIDs. I did not sign those subpoenas, and so I don't know the exact
Yeah.
circumstances surrounding
So there you
that
go.
individual.
Okay.
So fuck off.
No comment there. All right.
He just said he doesn't.
Mr.
Oh my God.
Caniglio, Mr. Bedoya raised 3 concerns earlier, and I just got a
He
few
moves his
seconds,
head
but
too
I wonder
much.
if-
I can't
and
even
any of
try.
you can-
Actually,
any
I'll
of you
just
three
make
can
the
comment
wig
on this.
bigger.
3 warnings that he pointed out: vertical integration,
There
AI
we go.
keeping private data private, and then the surveillance.
We'll just keep it
concern.
generally over his
Do you have a
head.
different perspective on those 3 concerns?
Like a
or
helmet.
Tell me what your thoughts on the 3 warnings he laid
My
out.
mom's
in
name
his-
is Karen. I feel bad. I'm actually wearing I wish a Karen would.
I can start with the first one about AI.
I don't connect the name Karen with all the people I know that are named Karen. I don't connect those two things.
The concerns about foreclosure.
It's just
which
letters.
Is the typical anti-competitive
And it's
harm
just-
that you,
yeah.
you think about when you go with vertical
I'm sorry for
integration
all the
are
Karens who
certainly
have to put
very
up with that
premature at
bullshit.
this
They shouldn't
stage.
have to.
We see robust competition at the foundation model level and the
whoops.
cloud level, which suggests that a vertical integration between, let's say, a cloud company and a foundation model
He has
is
very nice
unlikely
hair.
to result in any sort of exclusionary conduct. With respect to the partnerships,
Yeah,
and
that's
sort
true.
of a
No one's
horizontal,
naming
so
their
to speak,
kids that now,
reduction
though.
of competition between, let's say, a big tech firm that may have a partnership, and the idea being that because they're investing in these
Flynn the
companies,
wig on
they're
the
less likely to
Gosar.
compete. Again, I
I
think
might.
it's unlikely that that's going to result in a
I
substantial lessening
might.
of competition. Again, because of the robust competition that exists at the
Maybe we should
foundation
call it a
model
Jim
level,
Jordan
but
instead of a
also,
Karen.
because of the pro-competitive benefits that
And
these
give that
partnerships can
haircut,
have,
like the little
specifically
stubbly haircut,
providing, internet,
except the necessary
excuse me, AI
precondition of
foundation
seeing
model
Gosar.
startups
Yeah,
with the sort of
exactly.
patient capital
Be careful
they
what
need
you
to
wish
grow
for.
sustainably and actually innovate faster.
Oh, I like the guy's tie behind him. Did you
I know I'm
guys
not
see the
trying to-
tie behind
Can
that
we talk
guy?
about the privacy issue real quick?
Blondes
too?
definitely have more fun. I
Anyone
actually
talking
can't
about
say
the privacy?
that. I don't feel like I have a
concerns
lot
about
of
this whole
fun.
facial recognition and stuff. And
This
some
is
of the
fun.
examples that Mr. Bedoya
But I
gave
don't
in
feel
his
like I have a lot of
testimony.
fun in my
Give me
real
your
life.
quick thoughts on that, and
That's
then
my
I'll be
fault.
happy to yield back to Mr. Chairman.
So,
Yeah.
in many ways, the privacy issue in artificial intelligence,
I love the
especially
blue
these deep
jacket,
learning models,
black
is,
shirt, yellow
much
tie.
more
What the
complicated
hell?
than it is in the form
That guy
of
woke up
social
this
media.
morning and
so,
said, "It's a circus."
when you train these models, what you get is a something that does not have any of the actual training data in it. So you can never look into a model and see
Oh, I
the
see.
specific training that was in there. So
Why
the
can't
privacy
you?
implications here are
Doesn't that
ones
seem
more
bad?
on the inference side and not about the
James
about
Blonde.
actual data being in these. And
Good day
so
for a
it's much more like
circus.
remembering that something happened, but not remembering it precisely. And therefore, I think I think the privacy concerns are less.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back. I ask unanimous consent to enter the record the letter from Gary Shapiro and Kinsey Fabrizzo of CTA dated April 2nd, 2025.
Late start. Hi, Paul J.
Also, the statement of Jennifer
I know. If you
Holston
need it, you need it.
from
But I know what you
Cato,
mean.
dated April 2nd, 2025, and the letter from Graham Dufault of the App Association dated April 2nd, 2025. Without objection.
Mr. Chairman?
Could you just pull his jacket down a little bit in the back? That's all. I'm like,
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I request unanimous consent to add
I'm freezing.
to the
It is
record
freezing in
a
Los
Tech
Angeles this
Policy
morning.
Press article entitled
Ooh.
"Doge Plan to Push AI Across the U.S. Federal Government is Wildly Dangerous."
Without objection.
Thank you.
The ranking member of the full committee is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to our witnesses today. It's hard to think of an antitrust matter more pressing than concentration in the AI market. The dominance of a handful of AI companies presents a long-term problem for our national security, our democracy, our privacy, and basic fairness in the marketplace. But President Trump has plunged our government into chaos and disabled the federal agencies that we depend on to address such problems. It will be difficult to effectively respond to dangerous market concentration
was before
in
then,
the
but I could be wrong.
assembly of all human knowledge
Butterflies.
if we have governmental power that is dangerously concentrated itself in the president to the exclusion of Congress as the lawmaking branch and the judiciary as the protector of constitutional rights and values.
Gingrich gave him
Over
that
a century
jacket
ago,
yesterday, and
Congress
he's never
established the
taking it
Federal Trade
off.
Commission.
Ever.
It was created as an independent agency to enforce antitrust
It even
and consumer
smells like
protection
him.
laws outside of the
Mothballs
controlling
and
pressure
regret.
and power agendas of any single president or party. For more than a century, the FTC has protected Americans against scams, fraud, and other unfair and deceptive practices. It's also promoted and protected competition in the marketplace which benefits consumers, workers, and small businesses, driving innovation in business.
I thought the
without
same
monopoly.
thing, Oomph.
Congress designed the FTC
I
to
thought
be
that
led
yesterday,
by 5
too.
commissioners across
I
party
thought, did
lines who
Raskin
serve
take
7-year
over for him
terms,
at 2
are subject to
points?
Senate
Oh my
confirmation
gosh.
and can only be fired
It's
for cause.
freezing. I'm
Congress
freezing, and we've got a
structured this
breeze coming
independence
in.
to
I'm sorry, I'm
ensure
going to shut up.
that the FTC would serve the nonpartisan interests of the American people and be insulated from partisan political control. Over 90 years ago, the independence of these commissioners was tested, and the Supreme Court unanimously reaffirmed that the president cannot unilaterally fire an independent FTC commissioner without cause. Unitary executive power violated the careful federal design and infringed Congress's lawmaking power to establish the FTC as an effective and balanced instrument for the public good. Yet President
I was
Trump chose
just
to
looking
violate
at that.
federal law and defy the court's longstanding precedent by attempting to fire without cause the 2 Democratic members of the FTC. He did so to end the nonpartisan independence of the FTC and to make sure it responds to his momentary political demands above the national public interest as contemplated by Congress. Accordingly, the commissioners have brought suit to reverse their unlawful firing and to, as Commissioner Slaughter stated, make sure that the work of the commission is done without fear or favor, and more specifically, that we can take on the biggest companies in America without fear of getting fired for failure to do a favor to the president's friends or donors or corporate allies. The strongest federal rules on AI were established by President Biden in a 2023 EO. The Trump administration reversed that executive order, which laid down the guardrails for the AI industry. Not content with this rollback,
I did not know
the
that,
president has now
SB.
hobbled and undermined
Thank you.
the lead cop on the AI beat, the FTC, which has for years been at the forefront of holding big tech, including AI, to account. It's hard to debate the proper scope of regulation in this political space when Donald Trump has reportedly granted Elon Musk unlimited access to our most private and sensitive records, data that's undoubtedly invaluable to xAI, his AI company. Today, none of us here know whether Musk is using our data, classified information, and other sensitive data from databases across government to train his company's AI models and gain an unfair advantage over competitors and against citizens.
Oh my
Musk has
God.
refused to answer our many requests
I never even
on this topic, and now
thought
he's
about
crippled the
that.
agency charged with investigating these very tech abuses.
I never
if we
even
came
thought
together
about
and
that.
found agreement on regulatory reforms and safeguards for AI development, we still now lack an expert, independent agency to enforce our decisions.
Holy
the President
shit.
and Trump,
What the fuck?
the President and Musk are ushering in a new regime
hell have we
in which
done?
monarchical power, cronyism, corruption, and sycophancy rule. He's using his office to enrich himself, his friends, and his donors,
I
all
like
at
a
the
good
expense
mullet.
of the people. The
I'll
attempted
admit
firing
it.
of 2
I'm
FTC
good with
commissioners
anybody's
and his
haircut,
subsequent
actually.
removal of any FTC
Long enough
resource
to twirl.
that might
I
serve
can't
as
even
a
twirl my hair.
check on big tech illustrate how the president is dismantling the machinery of government to serve his own ends.
Hell
Our
yeah.
constitutional
That's
order is
right.
under
Hell
attack.
yeah. You can do whatever you
to
want.
concentrate all political power in the president. It's the political equivalent of what we're trying to prevent.
Yeah,
in the
I imagine he
economic
doesn't really care too
sphere.
much about it.
I hope that our witnesses can give us
get
their
that.
best insight as to how to deal with this problem. But we're facing a
But this is
structural
bad.
crisis now.
It is a
in our government.
crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields
Elmo needs
back.
to be
Mr. Chairman.
dispatched.
The chairman is recognized for
He
a
needs to
UC
stop.
request.
Someone
Yeah,
needs
that's
to
an
stop
consent to
him.
enter into the record the letter from August 26th of last year. sent
Someone
by
needs to stop
one of
Doggy
those
from
oligarchs
doing
that
this.
The ranking member
Oh my
just,
God.
put up there, Mr. Zuckerberg, the letter he sent to the committee
Oh my
saying
God.
that they in fact censored Americans at the request of the Biden administration. I yield back.
What? Shut the fuck up. Who cares what that little Nimrod says?
His hearing. We thank the witnesses for appearing before the committee today. Without objection, all members will have 5
It is
legislative
worse
days
than
to
stopping
submit
the-
additional written
Wait,
questions
what?
for the witnesses or additional materials
all
for the
done?
record. Without objection, this hearing is adjourned.
Beep, 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 beep. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hold on. Let me go down here. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay, fire. Ah, I need the fire. Politico.com news. I'm going to go to that. I haven't done any news surfing yet. Am I missing anything major? I'm already exhausted. Well, today is Tariffs Day. Need to stop the extra personal systems and financial weight shadow. I'm still team anti-mullet. Hey, to each his own. That's what I say. And if you can't be with the one you love, honey, love the one you're with. Love the one you're with. Love the one you're with. Oh, okay, Politico, I'm human. If you can't be with the one you love. What? Hold on. Trump tells Inner Circle that Musk will leave soon. Trump hits that Musk and Doggy may be coming to the... Oh, it's the end of the road, and I can't let go. It's unnatural. Do. I'm in love with you. Oh, we're at the end of the road, and I can't let go. That's a great song. That was one of my mom's favorite songs. But I don't know the words, and I'm sorry, Mom. Sorry, Mama. But their flash drives and malware will always be with us. Yes. Well, they got what they needed. 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 Oh. Elon Musk's days as a senior White House advisor might be coming to an end, along with his government-slashing doggy. President Dump hinted Monday that his close ally Musk may have to go back to running his companies. Oh, yeah, he did say that yesterday. And that the tumultuous mission of Doggy will have been accomplished after firing tens of thousands of government employees. I think he's amazing, but I also think he's got a big company to run, and so at some point he's got to go back. Dumpy said of the Tesla CEO, he wants to. I'd keep him as long as I could. Keep him. But he wants to leave me. The president's comments made at a White House signing ceremony for an executive order calling for increased scrutiny of concert ticket resellers, which is really interesting because I'm pretty sure that the DOJ actually stopped ticket resellers with actual action and not just an EO. EIEIO. So I think this is thanks, Biden, because I think that was already done. He's taking credit. Okay, but anyway, that's not even important. Nobody gives a shit. Okay. Came amid growing public concern that the chaos and turmoil caused by Doggy, which is really nothing in comparison to the data steal that has happened, that now he can use all of our data, all of our work, all of our being in his fucking AI systems. Good job, Tump. Tumpy Tump. The president's comments, blah, 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 as the once flying high-flying Tesla appears to be headed for a hard landing. Oh, you think sending him back there is going to make that company better? Is that what they think? I think that's the stupidest lie that I've ever heard. Let's see. Elmo shareholders are going to sue him. Tesla just posted the worst sales quarter since 2022. Is the guy that dumb? Didn't he see what happened to Mr. Pillowhead? I don't think he makes, you don't think that's quite right? You don't think your government data is pretty bare? Well, that's good. I don't know if mine is or not. Useful for demographics and sorting, maybe. Yeah. No, it sounds pretty nefarious to me, but I could be wrong. I'm probably overreacting. That's probably true. Yeah. Yeah, I'll stop. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to sue him because I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares about I don't think Tesla is the main money bag for this guy, right? He's got enough government contracts in order to he's got enough government contracts. I think that is his more lucrative and just kind of like general, probably a little bit of money laundering here and there, or whatever it is that those guys do to kind of augment their income. I wonder if I don't think that Tesla is really his money cow. I actually don't think he cares that much about Tesla. I think that's a LARP. Like, I don't think he cares. And if the board asked him to step down, I think he'd be like, yeah, go fuck yourselves. You know, like, I got SpaceX. I fucking own NASA. Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what the real damage could be done. It doesn't seem very wise to me to have like an oligarch have control of information that relates to us, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Yes, Musk is classed as a temporary government employee with a 130-day cap on his services, and under that designation, his tenure would conclude at the end of May, but a White House official told Politico in February that there was no end in sight to his time, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. Since joining the government, Musk, by his own description, has taken a chainsaw, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The effort is not popular, though, with more than half of voters in a recent Quinnipiac poll saying the billionaire and doggy are hurting the country. Trump told the reporters at the White House that the influence of doggy would linger because cabinet members and agency heads have gotten a big education from the experience. Yes, there will be a point at which the secretaries will be able to do this work. Yes, I did hear him say that. Tesla, meanwhile, is hitting major turbulence. Sales of its electric cars are plummeting around the world as Musk-fueled rage makes the vehicles increasingly unpopular with consumers who once flocked to the brand. The company's share price plunged 36% in the first quarter. Musk appeared to set the stage for his departure at the 130-day mark in an interview with Fox News last week, saying, I think we will have accomplished most of the work required to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion within that time frame. So, I don't know. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure. That's probably why Doggy is attacking the SCE. You mean the SEC or the SCE? What are you talking about? I might be missing it. Teresa Carter super says the valuation and sale price will all made up and overvalued. $33 billion in stock, not cash. Old McMuskie didn't have a farm. E-I-E-I-O. That's a good one, butterflies. With Elon selling his Twitter to his AI. Yes, exactly. He sold. That's right. Thank you, Teresa, very much for reminding me of that. He sold X to XAI. And that's why I wonder. This is why I don't think Tesla is important. I don't think he gives a shit. I think it's like. So I expect them to shit can him. Twitter was worth less than 10 billion. It says, I say 8 to 10 billion. I'm not an expert, but he got 45 billion less, 12 billion in debt. Yeah, see, I thought, remember after he bought Twitter, there was stories of his financial demise? Well, those were completely wrong. I mean, the fact that he's at $4 billion or something is absolutely ridiculous. Or trillion or whatever it is. I don't know. What is he at? 4 billion? I don't even know. Yeah, I would feel like Tesla. I feel all these guys can engage in enough dark money transfer, if you will. You know, I don't know where that comes into play in their actual supply chain, but I trust and believe. He financed 100% of Twitter. Yeah, rhymes with honey laundering. Griffey, hey sister, how you doing? It's good to see you. Honey laundering. I love you so much. I love you so much. It is. It rhymes with honey laundering. It's good to see you, love. That's hilarious. Yeah. Remember Manafort's deck of sham companies? Yes. Yeah, it's all this little kind of like blah, 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 blah. Only pre-credentialed media can attend Trump's Make America Wealthy tariff event today. Oh, really, Jim? Pre-credentialed? Maybe Big D will be there. This world is so insane. Oh, this world is so insane. Now picture it organized by AI trained on the data value flow through government systems. Yeah, okay. That's a good point. Oh my God. I don't know. It seems like a lot of power to have. I don't know. I don't know how you would use it, but yeah, I'm scared too. I'm scared only because I don't actually, I am one of those people that feels a little better if I have kind of an understanding of what's next. But I don't even feel like we have an understanding of what's next. You know, we started out this morning talking about Chrome down in Miami and just the incredible human rights abuses of this government right now today. It's just incredible to me. It's just they're just going to go ahead and use dildo microphones any day now. Yeah. I don't remember Manafort's companies, but wasn't his partner Stone and wasn't his one client Trump same long-term coup from the 80s? It's not the White House press corps, it's an extra credential, which means it's, Chud media. Chud media. They're barely catching up to the Russia shit. Now we got to explain freedom cities. I know. Is anyone exploring any plan B possibilities? I mean, I guess I think about it every once in a while, but I don't have a lot of options. So it's kind of like I'm not really sure what I would do differently that would end up being viable for me. So I don't know. The Manafort brothers. Dun-dun-dun. Manny, Mo, and Jack. The Manafort brothers. I didn't know he had a brother. Really? Oh, that's right. Is that the name of their firm? The Manafort Brothers Consulting Firm? Was that the name of that firm? Okay, let me check. Let me see what's going down in the YouTube sphere. Do. Oh. There's the Senate hearing on Boeing. I just don't think I can take it. I'm going to be honest with you. I know, gold. Yeah, I got to get ready. Friday, we're still having another fucked up financial Fridays. So there you go. There's that. Let's see. What time is it? What time is it? Oh, it's only 9. Damn, that's at 11. Let's see. Cruz. There's Ted Cruz. What to expect from... That's not interesting. What's interesting? What's interesting? Do. Bump. Oh, I like the Danish Prime Minister too. She's pretty cool. Oh, wait, what? Oh, no, that's from yesterday. That's from yesterday. You can't fool me. I already watched that. They represented clients such as Mobutu Marcos and Barra. That's right. I remember you mentioning that, Max. Fun Strauss book starts with a guy in possession of a bunch of public domain music fleeing agents of self-replicating media ownership LLC bot network. Ooh, that sounds cool. That sounds pretty cool. Oh my God, Jim, wonder how much the taxpayers will have to pay for this event. Another grifting opportunity. Oh my God, the money they're spending on bullshit is just crazy. Like, and I don't even think we're going to be able to find out a lot about it. That's the problem. Okay, so this is all stuff we've seen. La, 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 la. Is he on a plane now? Like, every time I see like these things of him on a plane, I'm kind of like, that must be old. Okay. Okay. Trump announces tariffs. Nope, that's not it. All right. Just want to make sure we weren't missing anything really amazing and hot. Russia is a hoax, but Manafort gave Konstantin Kilimnik the polling data from 2016 as the chairman of Trump's campaign in 2016. Rick Gates. Where is Rick Gates? Where is it, Rick Gates? Funds, okay, yeah, offered for facts of AI run shell company risk. Oh, interesting. So it's called, what do you remember? What's it called? Persons dear to me look to retire abroad. Offered facet of AI run. Other persons dear to me have no prospect or of flight. Yeah, what's that book called? That would be a good book to read. We got to get back to some bedtime stories. What is today? Wednesday? Oh, there's nothing happening tonight for me. Probably clean my house. Jen, me too. I figured I can use my new passport to visit the States. Uh-oh. Neil, we're all coming up there. Hey, listen, I like that. I was watching a little bit of Jasmeet Singh this morning. I like him. Is he good? I like him a lot. He's really cool. There's a Resistance Sentinel if you're looking for stuff, LOL. Let's share it. I'll share it. It's just a vignette at the outset. Ah, I see. Shameless plug. No problem. I'm mad. I was so behind. Quickly goes elsewhere. It is just a vignette at the outset and it quickly goes elsewhere. Ah, okay, I see. First the weird animal spottings, now Jim Baker. I know, Jane. First the cassowaries and then Jim Baker. What next? What next? What shibboleth will do that? Get the passport. I think always have a passport. That's what I say. I say always have a valid passport. Cassowaries. Don't be a cassowary. Okay, wait. I want to find the Resistance Sentinel. Hold on. Just a minute. Just a minute. Do 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 do. Boop boop. The last day on which a majority of the Supreme Court's justices have been appointed by. Oh, interesting. I was just reading Steve Fladdock. Okay. Let me find the Resistance Sentinel. There it is. There it is. Oh, wait, this is really funny. Hold on, I'm going to show you this. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Look at that. I think that's so funny. I think that's so funny. Oops, hold on. I need it to be bigger. I think that's so funny. A big piece of cheese fell on. Oh, bye, SB. Have a great. He's talking about money laundering cases. Singh is not to my taste. He too often blames the feds, liberals, for not doing stuff that's purely provincial jurisdiction, but his NDP loves it because they think government should run everything. Ah. All right. I don't know much about him, so I should probably do more research. Also, this has been a pretty good Substack so far. Let me pull it up. Oh, I found this independent site. Well, it says it's independent and open source. Oh, Critical Resistance. And it's called ghost.io, and so I think I'm going to post some like whatever writings I do, I'll post them there. I'm not a great writer, so I'm not really too big on writing. I mean, I'm not a great writer. I love writing, but I'm not a great writer. 10 years under Project 2025, a future we can still refuse. Ooh. I don't know. I'm kind of scared. How long is it? Year 1, year 2. Oh, I kind of want to. Okay, well, let's a decade by decade look at how freedom fades without a single declaration. Oh boy, that's kind of scary. That's kind of scary. I think I'm just gonna go up to like hide in Canada, like go into the mountains and just hide. I'll take the cats with me. I don't know how I'll get over the border, but we'll figure that out. I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll just stay here. It doesn't really matter. I'll go to the quarries. I'm just going to go to the quarries. Doesn't really matter. No, I think it's actually good to. I want to hear your opinion, Neil. No, I actually appreciate hearing the opinions of Canadians who understand much more about their politicians than I do. Yes, absolutely. I'm not sure I'm ready to read this. I'll be honest with you, but I do appreciate this link, and I will be following that account. So definitely, yeah, I know. Also, this okay, and and more in your focus area. Oh wait, I didn't even pick this up, gal. Wait, hold on. What happened? Oh, there it is. Many with open asylum claims allegedly removed. So I'll just say this lawfare post that gal posted above, I'll put it in the description of the video. In Alien Enemies case, many with open asylum claims allegedly removed. This is a Roger Parloff. Hold on. Roger Parloff article today. The Trump administration is wrongfully removing individuals with open asylum cases to an El Salvador mega prison for terrorists. In a federal case in Maryland, the government recently admitted that it mistakenly removed a man to El Salvador despite protective status. The administrative error may reverberate in the Alien Enemies Act case. There, plaintiffs have alleged that many Venezuelans with open asylum cases were also wrongfully removed to El Salvador's dreaded Centro por Confinamiento del Terrorismo, CICOT. On March 15th, 5 detained Venezuelan aliens filed a putative class action seeking to prevent their summary removal under a proclamation by President Trump invoking blah, 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 the Alien Enemies Act. The Trump administration alleges that the men are members of a criminal gang called Tren de Aragua and further theorizes that the gang is a foreign nation or government engaging in an invasion or predatory incursion within the meaning of the U.S. law. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg, hot tea. Very, very, very hot. And smart and really actually very responsible. Issued oral and written temporary restraining orders that day. Nevertheless, where am I? The Trump administration sent 3 plane loads of Venezuelans to El Salvador, now the subject of ongoing proceedings as to whether the governments defied Boasberg's orders. In connection with a motion for a preliminary injunction filed on March 28th, plaintiffs' lawyers filed multiple declarations alleging that individuals with no connection to Tren de Aragua, often with open asylum cases, were wrongfully removed on March 15th to El Salvador's notorious prison for terrorists. Andre Hernandez Romero, a gay professional makeup artist, was one of them, according to his lawyer's declaration. Quote, Andre Romero worked for a government-sponsored news channel as a professional makeup artist. He faced constant discrimination because of his sexual orientation. He and other station employees were forced to promote pro-Maduro content in their social media and to vote in favor of issues supported by that government. He refused, and the producers at his government-sponsored station attacked him and threatened to further harm him if he did not comply. Around this same time, he began to be followed by colectivos, armed groups operating at the behest of the government, and was threatened by them to support the Maduro government. In response, Andre quit the television station and went into hiding, leaving Venezuela in May 2024. On August 29, 2024, Andre presented at the San Isidro port of entry after making an appointment with the CBP One app. He was questioned about his tattoos, transferred to ICE custody, and sent to Otay Mesa Detention Center. Like other aliens described in the plaintiff's filings, Romero is alleged to have been arrested because of his tattoos. The 2 criminologists and a 3rd expert on Latin American gangs, all aver, in other declarations filed in connection with the motion, that Tren de Aragua has no graphic symbol or distinguishing tattoos that identify its members. The immigration attorney for Jersey Reyes Barrios also filed a declaration. Barrios is a professional soccer player, according to his lawyer. Quote, in February and March 2024, Mr. Reyes Barrios marched in 2 demonstrations in Venezuela protesting the authoritarian rule of Maduro. At the second demonstration, he was detained and taken into a clandestine building where he was tortured with electric shock suffocation along with other demonstrators. Shortly after his release, he fled Venezuela for the United States. He registered with CBP-1 in Mexico, then presented himself to CBP officials on the day of his appointment. He was taken into custody and detained at Otay Mesa Detention Facility in September 2024. We applied for asylum, withholding of removal, and CAT, Convention Against Torture, protection in December 2024. His final individual hearing is set for April 17, 2025. On March 15, 2025, Mr. Reyes Barrios was deported to El Salvador with no notice to counsel or family. Mr. Reyes Barrios is a professional soccer player in Venezuela. He has never been arrested or charged with a crime. He has a steady employment record as a soccer player, as well as a soccer coach for children and youth. Reyes Barrios, too, was allegedly arrested based on his tattoos, including one for his favorite soccer team, Real Madrid, according to his attorney. Luis Marcano Silva was also removed. According to a declaration from his mother, he had experienced threats of death and physical violence by political opponents in Venezuela. When he entered the U.S. in November 2023, he and his family, his partner and 2 daughters, presented themselves to immigration officials and were released on their own recognizance. They applied for asylum in August 2024. He was told to check in with authorities in February, but an immigration practitioner assured him that nothing would happen, as he had a pending asylum application. At the check-in, however, he was accused of being a Tren de Aragua member and detained. He still had a hearing scheduled for March 31st at the time he was summarily flown to CCOT on March 15th. His mother asserts that he has no criminal record in any country and believes he was deported because of his tattoos. Similarly, plaintiff's lawyers allege that Neri Alvarado Borges, now in El Salvador's CCOT prison, was deported because of his tattoos. One of those, they assert, is an autism awareness ribbon with the name of Borges' autistic brother on it. Plaintiffs have also submitted an exhibit entitled Alien Enemy Validation Guide. They say it is a tool based on a point system that the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents use to determine whether an alien is a member of Tren de Aragua. Tattoos, quote, denoting membership loyalty to TDA, end quote, are worth 4 points. In some circumstances, those accumulating more than 8 points, quote, are validated as members of the group, while those accumulating 6 points, quote, may be validated, according to the document. Finally, earlier in the litigation, a Venezuelan woman submitted a declaration stating that she, too, had an open asylum case when she was placed on a plane and sent to El Salvador that day. She was among about 8 women on her plane whom El Salvador refused to accept, she explains, and who were therefore sent back to the United States. Several other people on the plane told me they were in immigration proceedings and awaiting court hearings in immigration court, she wrote. It's quite possible that the government can rebut most or even all of these claims, but that's what individual hearings are for. That's why, as Judge Patricia Millett observed in an oral argument over whether to stay Judge Boasberg's temporary restraining order, even German aliens during World War II received individual hearings before they could be removed under the Act. But individual hearings are precisely what the Trump administration dispensed with in the cases of at least 137 aliens who were accused of membership in Tren de Aragua and summarily removed that day, according to a number publicly provided by Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. That's what prompted Judge Millett to observe during oral argument, quote, Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemies Act. Thank you, Roger. Wow. That was good. Thank you, Gal, for sharing that. I appreciate that. Well, I wish I had better news for everyone. New York Times. They do and they should for so many. I know this is so incredibly, such an incredibly violent administration this time. If Kearney gets the building of routes to the Arctic going, that's a lot of jobs and secondary supporting jobs and new cities for retirees, etc. True, Jane. I kind of like Kearney. Kearney seems okay. Is he okay? He seems okay. Oh, we knew this was gonna happen. I knew this was gonna happen. I fucking knew this was gonna happen. Canada is always on my short list. I love like like Vancouver and like I love British Columbia. I know, and Alberta, I understand there's some really crazy people in Alberta, but there's some beautiful parts to it too. I would do that. Okay, a backup country. There you go. Not cheap or warm enough. That's a good point. That's a good point. I should be thinking about that too. I'm not getting any younger. It's way too expensive in BC. Damn it. Oh well. I'm not, you know what? I can't go anywhere. I don't have the means to go anywhere, so I'm gonna just hang out here in Los Angeles. Bezos to the rescue. Vancouver's nuts. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I guess everywhere can be really nuts. Yeah, beautiful. I just want nature. I need some more nature, but that's my problem. I'll figure it out. Amazon said to make a bid to buy TikTok. Oh, wow. I want Vines back. What about Vines? Why can't we have that back? So I can have my kitty videos and not have to have Jeff Bezos up my butt. I don't want Bezos in my butt. Yeah, price-wise, it's crazy. Good morning, Tom. How are you? I have a friend who writes in Costa Rica, supposed to be cheap there and warm. It is. I mean, I love Costa Rica's beautiful. I'm not sure the Costa Ricans would like us all to go there. I could see them being just a little bit like, excuse me. So I don't know. That's another thing. I don't really belong anywhere that. Oh, I love Peaks Island. Oh my God, I love Peaks. I had some friends that lived on Peaks too. That would be hard. I mean, I'm scared to live on an island because I feel like you're going to drown eventually. I spend my time worrying about things like that. Oh, maybe in Arizona. And next month, my little sister graduates from medical school. You'd love her. She's just like, don't go to the show. Really? Next month? In April? Or no, this is April. May? I'm coming. I'm going to come. I love Arizona. I will meet you in Arizona. I will meet you in Arizona in May. Cool. Congratulations, little gal. Little sister gal. I love Arizona. I like it all. I like everything. I really do like it. I need to get out of my room. That's what I need to get out of. Congrats. Aw. Costa Rica only requires you have 1K per month for residency. Oh. They still want people? I mean, it's really beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. And it's nice neighborhoods. Like, we went out into the neighborhoods outside San Jose because that's where this girl lived that my dad was dating or whatever and had dated. And so it was really nice. Beautiful. Beautiful neighborhoods. Beautiful everything. But yeah, congratulations. By the time I get to Phoenix, she'll be in her residency. That's right. That's right. I love Arizona. I think Arizona is awesome. And I also love New Mexico. I want Deb Haaland to win for governor. I would love to work for her. Oh, she's like done. Oh, she's doctor time. Doctor time. Doctor time. She'll be in the emergency room. I can't wait. I really do want to meet her. That would be so great. Maybe we should set up a Lolo's network state. Why don't we do our own network state? I would be down for that. It doesn't have to be Lolo, obviously. But we could do our own network state of just like nice people. Could we do that? I'd be down for that. I mean, that was our compound anyway. Hello. The lounge instead of the source. And we'll open a restaurant, you guys. No, because it is a bad idea. Oh, okay, whatever. Well, then you're not invited. We could have our own Air Force with hang gliders. Yeah. Sell the lounge to spaced out trimming. Oh, Jane, you do not wish you were awake for that one, okay? Because that was kind of like that one stayed with me all night. That documentary we watched last night about the Source family cult. I couldn't stop thinking about it. She did one of her rotations in the Dominican Republic at a local hospital that needs help and another at St. Jude's. Oh, I can't wait. I already do love her. I can't wait. I think that's so cool. Ah, a mini gal. I would love a dual gal. Stereo gal. I'm down for that. It'll be a parody network state. Yeah. Comedians in resistance. Exactly. It'll be kind of a loose network state. It won't be like, a serious network state. It'll be a little looser. Oh, she's a mini. Don't go to the show. Oh, I cannot wait. Oh my God. She's weirder than you? Well, I think I'm weirder than you are. So maybe this would actually be really good. The Loungiana. Loungiana. We can make our own classification. Oh, yeah. We could be dedicated to mocking network states. Yeah. In like a style way. Oh, okay. Dang it. I was hoping for weirder. In the Rajneeshi cult, the father figure went senile and his female lieutenant, Sheila, called all the shots. Well, Sheila should have figured out the whole paragliding thing. Staple 5 Aquarium. Yeah, my name's Freshwater Aquarium. Yeah, my dad has ownership in a stand-up comedy club, right? Yes, I do. I'll take it. I'd practice before that. I have a month to practice. Fantastic. I would do it. Or am I just? Or orbit 4. Or am I just? Orbit number 4. Hi, Oren. Good morning. How are you? Yes, Jane, you can have an Aquarius name. We're going to call you, and I'm not going to give you one of those stupid names like, electricity number 3. I'm going to give you a completely different name, but it has to be aquarium. I think we'll give you exotic aquarium. That's what we're going to give you. You're going to be exotic aquarium 2. Yeah, not one of those stupid aquarium names. No, not the ones with the numbers, like, Mambo number 5. No, like, what was the guy's name? Yehovah number 3. That's what it was. I am the artist formerly known as Aquarium. I like Aquarium. Orbit number 3. You could be orbit number 4, Jane, if you want. She is 14. Oh my God. All these young people. I can't handle you. Jane, I sound sexy, but what is it again? Exotic Aquarium. Yeah, you're Exotic Aquarium. No, not orbit. You don't want to be orbit number 4. Okay. Well, Exotic Aquarium it is. There you go. Exotic Aquarium it is. You don't even have to have a number attached to it. You can be the one and only. Public Aquarium. Do you remember that from Nemo? The sun is shining. The tank is clean. The tank is clean. City Aquarium. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just have to laugh at everything. I can't. I can't not laugh at everything. It's a lot. It's a lot. My aunt has the same fear about being on an island. Thank you, butterflies. My uncle brought my aunt to Hawaii and had to book a flight home ASAP because it freaks her out. Vacation over. A rapid, unscheduled disassembly, yo. I think I broke my back. But then they did an x-ray and there were no broken bones. Oh, Paul, there's a lot of trauma behind that giggling. Trust me. My other sister passed away when I was 5. I had to wait forever for my little rainbow sister worth the wait. Oh, I love you guys. J Herb loved the Scripps Aquarium in San Diego, but I didn't marry it. I don't know why that's so funny, Oren, but it is. I know everything's a big island, but I have a fear if you're on a little island, I'm like, eventually that's going to go under the water. Like, that is just eventually going to go on. I think that was a great outcome. All the people are still in the cult. Oomph. That's why everyone's like, oh, he died, but he's still like a miracle. I'm terrified of islands. If you're driving down the road and see anything named Source, keep going. Yeah, exactly. That's our takeaway from that movie. Don't go to the source. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Must have been incredibly difficult. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine. A hippopotamus's milk is Jim Nalgren, what are you doing? Ah! And if you meet anyone with the last name Aquarius, don't marry them. They're probably still in a cult. I'm fine on a boat, ship, submarine. Oh yeah, I'm totally fine on a boat. I'm totally fine. Totally fine. I'm not really great in a submarine. I just don't want to deal with that thing. That just freaks me out. But an island? Yeah, I can't imagine long term being on an island. I just think about the fact that the water's going to rise at some point. That's it. That's the way it is. Or it's got some goddamn volcano under something, and then that's going to blow. I visited Lamu Island and stayed months longer than I had intended. I don't know where that is. Yeah, Pink Hippo Milk, a.k.a. Jim. I know. I feel sorry for my aunt. Wait, butterflies. Really? Oh, it must be crippling. I know. Wait, butterflies. Did I miss? Oren, I'll tell you. Oh, in Kenya. Okay. Thank you. I'll tell you about it someday. Made me the person I am. Grief is powerful in positive and negative ways. I appreciate the experiences and how they've shaped me. That's an amazing perspective too. Dealing with loss is so it's so unimaginable. I mean, obviously we're all there and we have our own situations we deal with, but it's really hard to imagine someone else's grief sometimes. I think that's great, Gal, that it makes you, it just becomes part of who you are. That's what I think about grief. Carla Wilson. Wilson, the volleyball guy? Is that what we're talking about? I will be going to New Mexico in May. Need coordinate dates. Oh, Teresa. Oh, I'm liking the way this is sounding. Gal, 100%, sister mom. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It's just such a day. And then we have stuff coming up at 1. Ugh. I stopped eating pit beef when I heard about Jim. I never know. Are you having a conversation with someone else? I don't know what that is. Teresa, have you ever been to Tuba City? Tuba City or Yuba City? You mean Yuba City? I like Tuba City though. I would be down to go to Tuba City. I definitely would. Or I get stuck on an island with a tetherball. Pink Milk Aquarium. Tuba. I love that. Tuba City. I'm going to look that up. That sounds great. Is there tubas? I want to go back. Let's all meet up. Your poor sister. We're all going to show up. It'll be like this motley crew. Hey, just don't go down to Trombone Town. Don't go down to Trombone Town. Go to Tuba City instead. Boop. Havasu. Ooh, yeah. God, I just need some. I need some nature. I need nature in my life. The Don't Go show. Yes, exactly. Don't go to the show crew shows up. Up. I've been to Tuba City, Arizona. Ate lunch there. Neil, big native reservation there. Yes. Is it? You've been to Tuba City? I didn't even know it existed. I thought it was Yuba City. Jane, I stopped by the old general store in Arizona in the middle of the desert for ice cream. Yum. We used to drive, like that was our family vacations. My dad would put us all in a car or a whatever, and we would drive. Because we had family in Texas, you know, because my mom. So we would drive to Texas. Then we'd go into Mexico. And he would make me speak Spanish. For some reason, he thought that was hilarious. And and then, yeah, that's what it was. Joe Matheny had a pit beef stand in Baltimore. He turned hookers and homeless people into sandwiches. What? I don't even know. Oh my God, Jim. I can't even. Where did that am I high? Where did that even come from? Where'd that come from? No, Jim. Are you okay, Jim? Are you okay? Cave Creek is beautiful. I haven't been there either. I have family that owns a ranch at the Four Corners. Oh, wow. Really cool. It's going to be one of those days, folks. That's what I'm going to say. It's going to be one of those days, folks. So hang in there. I thought it was Pat Metheny group. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, Pat Metheny has a stand and he killed people and made them into food? Oh, I just thought he played guitar. I'm sorry, Jim. I don't quite understand where it's going. I love that it's kind of dropped in the middle of something. Jim Nalgren, not to be confused with Pat Metheny. Well, that's what I was wondering. No pit beef, please. I don't understand. I've never heard of pit beef, number one. It doesn't really sound like something I would want to do. So I think I would probably not. In LA, I almost used to drive out El Matador Beach. Yes. I know. I don't go to the beach as often as I should, actually. It's really just because there's too many people. And I don't want to drive. It's probably a me problem. It's probably a me problem. Gaviola Hot Springs is just... Oh, Gaviota. Yes. I know what you're talking about. So is Trump doing a press thing or something later? Wonder what's going to happen. I know. He is going to be doing something at 1 o'clock Pacific, so 4 o'clock Eastern, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that's what it is, Jen. I'm not really sure. But I've never heard of pit beef. Pork, get ready for long pork. I'm not with the Donner Party thing. I probably shouldn't have mentioned the pink hippo milk. Now RFK Jr. will be downing. I don't want to know anything about that. Oh, Jim, you're so funny. Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah, so he's probably doing something. I don't know. I might come back for it. I'm not sure I can listen to him. I'll be honest. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. Donner Party. Your table's ready at the source, and then stop by our meat stand, our pit beef stand. Holy shit. We'll have to have. I can't even say those words, Oren. It makes me sick. God. Ugh. Maybe we can do an impromptu space or something. Oh, that might be good. Yeah, I'm down for that. Maybe we should. I know Lee's super busy, I imagine, but she might appreciate a chance to say something out loud about what happened today, if anything. Oh God, Jane. Ugh. No, stop. Stop with the pink references. The pink dairy products. Blah. Blah. God. Oh, God. Hot Springs sounds really good right now. Okay, well, I'm going to go and we'll see what happens later on. I apologize. I don't have a clearer view of my plans, but I'm sure that you will probably hear about or something. He's going to do it in the Rose Garden. Well, that's going to soon be a parking lot. That's right. They're going to fucking pave that over. Pave paradise, make it a parking lot. Oh my God, Jane. Now barbecue's a different story. All right, here we go. Jim is redeeming himself right now with one of his infamous dad jokes. Do you know what the difference is between a hippo and a Zippo? One weighs a ton and the other is a little lighter. That's a good one, Jim. That's a good one. Well done. Well done. You redeemed yourself. I love all you guys too. There was a mountain lion warning at Gaviota Springs, and German tourists there were concerned about it. We joked about the master race flesh. Oh my God. Lindell said he's going to run against. Yes, Lindell is running for governor of Minnesota. Yep. We're not done with Mike Lindell yet. Nope. They'll grow my pillows in the White House Rose Garden. I'm going to tell you right now, I think that's going to be an entertaining race. I have a feeling his party, I think the Republicans will convince Lindell not to run. I really do. They don't like him. The only reason Mike Lindell was popular was because he spent his own money. That is literally the only reason that guy was popular. Seriously. So, he's not going to win. He's not going to win. They don't even like him in his state, okay? They don't even like him. They know he's an idiot. But I guess it'll be entertaining for a minute. What's the difference between a 3-ring circus and the president's cabinet? It's less entertaining. No, it's more entertaining, I should say. Yeah, good luck, Mr. Pillows. Good luck, Mr. Carpet Farmer. Farm for those rocks in the carpet. All right. I'm going to go for now, but hopefully I'll see you later on or hear you or however that happens. Thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning. I appreciate it. And if nothing else, I will definitely see you tomorrow morning at the same time on the same channel. Same bright and girly way. But indeed, thanks for coming. Be kind. You all are kind. Encourage kindness. Oh, that's right near me. Beverly Hot Springs. I know which one you're talking about. Hi, Anita. Thank you. Thank you for hanging with us. I certainly appreciate it. All right. I'll see you guys later. Have a great Wednesday. Really. I hope you have a great Wednesday. Oh, but what is the difference between a 3-ring circus and the president's cabinet? Come on, oomph. I, for the life of me, can't understand why Dump is cutting down the 200-year-old magnolia trees. You can't? Well, come on now. You know. Oh, she'll run for governor too, Nancy Mace. Yikes. Wait, you don't have an answer? Oh, man. Leave us hanging. All right. That's fine. A 3-ring circus is a cunning array of stunts. Oh! Oh! That's a great punchline. Okay, I'll read it again. What's the difference between a 3-ring circus and the president's cabinet? A 3-ring circus is a cunning array of stunts. The president's cabinet is a stunning array of cunts. Ooh, that's a good one, Oomph. That's a good one. That's a really, really good one. That's a smart joke. I know. Where is Jim with the punchline? I know. I had to fill it in. Well done. Well done. That was really good. Stunts or cunts? Well, yeah, you have to flip it and then you do the other thing. Yeah. Well, it takes a whole entire chat to do a joke, so we're good. We're doing good today. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the jokes and thanks for the laughs and thanks for crying with along with life. And yeah, I'll see you later. Okay, I'm out. Bye. Oh, I mean, really. I